Chapter 769. Greetings, Great Elder of the Ancient Shrine. Within the Golden Flame nine-headed lion clan, Patriarch Golden Flame led the other upper echelons of the clan to respectfully greet the figure. Hearing this, the figure nodded slightly. Right now, I can only project one mark. When I reach you, my strength is about the same as yours, only at the 6th tier of the Heaven Ascension stage. No need to be so polite. Get up. The person's tone was calm, but there was a hint of unquestionable arrogance. Ancestor Golden Flame nodded respectfully, not daring to reply. Although this projection's strength was indeed similar to his own, it was still extremely powerful. However, the true body behind the projection was an existence that even he had to look up to. How had the ancient shrine become the leader of the holy lands of martial arts? This person's contribution was indispensable. The ancient shrine had always been mysterious. In the ancient times, it had been very famous in the entire Sky continent. Today, it had developed into the most powerful martial saint in the martial saint lands. Even excluding the elusive hallmaster of the ancient shrine, who might not be seen even once in a few years, the Great Elder was enough to shock countless experts. With a cultivation of LV7 of the Heaven Ascension realm, even the sect masters of the Ninth Heaven Palace and the Scarlet Flame sect were no match for him. Such a person could make the entire Heaven continent tremble with a stomp of his foot. Although the person in front of him was only a projection that could last for 3 days at most and only had about 70% of the real body's battle strength, Ancestor Golden Flame was still respectful and did not dare to be negligent. Emissary, you said that Tianyang, who killed Ku Aoyang and took away Wu Zun's secret in Sword Star City, is in the Savage Demon Zone? At this moment, a faint voice came from the Great Elder of the Ancient Shrine. His voice was ethereal and difficult to find, as if it came from all directions. Ancestor Golden Flame was shocked. The emissary seemed to be used to it and replied respectfully. Yes, Lord Great Elder, Tianyang is now in the Savage Demon Zone, in the Nine-Tailed Fox Clan's Nine-Tailed Sacred Mountain. The reason why Ancestor Golden Flame is here is because Tianyang killed the young master and patriarch of the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion Clan. Ancestor Golden Flame is about to attack him, the emissary said. The Great Elder of the Ancient Shrine raised his eyebrows and looked at Ancestor Golden Flame. The Savage Demon Zone is your territory. You actually had your direct descendant killed in your territory? If I don't avenge this, I swear I won't be a demon. Ancestor Golden Flame, Nine-Tailed Sacred Mountain, Nine-Tailed Sacred Mountain. The entire mountain range of the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion Clan was trembling slightly. Even if a LV6 Heaven Ascension expert leaked a trace of his true yuan, the entire mountain range would tremble. Humph, this Tianyang also killed Guoyang, a disciple of the ancient God Temple, and took away an opportunity from us. The ancient God Temple must kill this man. The Great Elder of the Ancient Shrine seemed to recall something when he heard that. His face darkened as he said, "That's right." Hearing this, Golden Flame Ancestor was stunned and lifted his head in disbelief. This heavenly son was actually so audacious? The emissary had said that there was a grudge between Tianyang and the ancient shrine. Ancestor Golden Flame, Nine-Tailed Sacred Mountain, 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 Nine-Tailed Sacred Mountain. But now Ku Aoyang, a genius disciple of the ancient shrine, had been killed. An opportunity that would anger even the Great Elder of the ancient shrine had been evaded. Humph, not only did you offend the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion Clan, but you also dared to treat the ancient shrine this way. Now, the strongest human force and the strongest demon force have their eyes on you. Tianyang, I'll let you live one more day. You'll die in 1 day. Ancestor Golden Flame's eyes flashed as he roared in his heart. Tianyang didn't know what had happened in the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion Clan. He didn't expect his trip to the wild demon region to coincide with the time when the emissary from the ancient shrine went to the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion Clan for a meeting. Neither the ancient shrine nor the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion Clan was easy to deal with. Tianyang found it difficult to deal with one of them. Now there were two of them, let's see how long it takes. Tianyang didn't care. He looked at the nine-tailed monster emperor, who was looking at the hot elixir in her hand. I say, as a monster emperor, it's understandable for you to be cautious. But you don't have to hesitate for so long. I made an elixir with your herbs in front of you. You don't believe me? Tianyang curled his lips and said. This elixir was called the Life and Death Elixir. It was the most powerful healing elixir that Tianyang could make at the moment. As for elixirs, Tianyang had not been able to refine them in his previous life. It was only because he had obtained the Myriad Elixir Codex that he had the recipe. Coupled with the true destruction flames and the strength of his martial honorable realm soul, he had been able to successfully refine them. Otherwise, it would be difficult to make the Life and Death Elixir even with the help of the soul power of the peak of the reaching heaven realm. It wouldn't be as easy as it was now. No, of course I believe you, but... The nine-tailed monster emperor looked at the Life and Death Elixir in her hand in disbelief. She swallowed her saliva and said slowly, Did you spend half a day making this elixir? You made a genuine 6th-grade elixir in less than half a day. Even if you started making elixirs in your mother's womb, it's impossible, the nine-tailed monster emperor exclaimed. Even though she had seen a lot, she was still completely shocked. A 6th-grade elixir. A reaching heaven realm elixir. 10,000 years ago, those who could make a 6th-grade elixir were definitely alchemy experts among alchemy experts. And those who could make a 6th-grade elixir at the peak could be called alchemy supremes. Tianyang was just a half-step reaching heaven realm peak, and a half-step reaching heaven realm peak less than 20 years old. But in the end, the nine-tailed monster emperor saw this half-step reaching heaven realm peak less than 20 years old refine a 6th-grade elixir. The alchemy expert 10,000 years ago was now alchemy supremes. This kid is actually a alchemy supremes? The nine-tailed monster emperor was dumbfounded, her face full of disbelief. 20 years old. Cultivation, half-step reaching heaven realm peak. Even 100 golden flames of the monster race prodigy roll combined couldn't compare to him. Strength, killing golden flames and instantly killing the blazing Lion King. Although she didn't know what method he used, this strength was already terrifying enough. Physical strength, to be able to withstand the blazing Lion King's attack without being at a disadvantage, was obviously not weak. Sword Tao unknown. Alchemy supremes, alchemy supremes. If all of these were given individually to an old man who looked 70 or 80 years old, but was actually in his 80s, the nine-tailed monster emperor might not say anything. But all of this happened to a 20-year-old youth. Alright, hurry up and swallow it to recover your strength. At this moment, Tianyang raised his eyebrows. Looking out of the window, his gaze seemed to penetrate 10,000 miles of the void. In the distance, in the darkness where the morning sun couldn't shine, 3 figures stood in the air, looking at the nine-tailed sacred mountain in the distance with indifferent eyes. The 3 of them were Golden Flames Nine-Headed Lion Clan, Ancestor Golden Flames, Ancient Shrine Grand Elder, Ancient Shrine Emissary, and Tianyang's gaze slowly moved up, clearly seeing the faces of these 3 people. At the same time, he also met one of them. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Chapter 770. At the center of the 3, the first elder's face suddenly changed. He looked into the distance and a trace of shock appeared on his face. What was that just now? The great elder of the ancient shrine was shocked. He didn't even realize that when he said that, his fingers and even his voice began to tremble slightly. Hearing this, the 2 Heaven Ascension stage powerhouses at the side were instantly stunned. Following the first elder's gaze, they only saw a vast expanse of whiteness, as well as the nine-tailed sacred mountain faintly discernible in the distant morning mist. "Great Elder, what's wrong?" the emissary of the ancient shrine asked, puzzled. The Great Elder of the ancient shrine trembled and shook his head. That was probably an illusion. How could there be an almighty existence in this world who could make his soul tremble with just one look? That kind of existence was no longer suppressed by this world. They were even rejected by this world and had broken through to become a celestial being. "No, let's continue," the Great Elder of the ancient shrine said. His face returned to its usual indifference, but the fear in his eyes was still flickering. "Interesting." Tianyang slowly withdrew his gaze and looked at the three people in the sky. He suddenly smiled faintly. He didn't expect that he would be able to discover the enemy with a casual glance. Moreover, it seemed that he had frightened one of them. The ancient shrine had always been mysterious. There were very few disciples in the heaven continent. The last time Tianyang had met Kuaoyang, there had been a special reason for that. Therefore, Tianyang didn't realize that the old man who had been so frightened by him was the Great Elder of the ancient shrine, a famous expert in the heaven continent. The one on the far left should be the Golden Flame ancestor of the Golden Flame nine-headed lion clan. As for the other two, I don't know them. Tianyang muttered to himself, but they're dressed in the same style. They should be from the same faction. TSK, I didn't expect that the Golden Flame ancestor would ask for help. Tianyang originally thought that the Golden Flame nine-headed lion clan would rather spend a lot of effort than transform into a human being. He thought that the Golden Flame nine-headed lion clan would be so arrogant as to seek death alone. However, despite his arrogance, Forefather Golden Flame was still quite capable since he was able to live for several thousand years. If it weren't for the fact that I have to watch over Yuhan's cheapskate father to recover, I would have charged over right now. Tianyang sighed as he glanced at the nine-tailed monster emperor who had consumed the life and death reversal elixir and was recovering rapidly. This guy is really a burden. Although the life and death reincarnation pill was a grade 6 pill, it was easy to refine as a healing pill. In addition, although the nine-tailed monster emperor had been severely injured, she still had the strength of a reaching heaven state. It would only take her a few hours to refine a life and death elixir. The effects of the life and death revolving elixir slowly spread throughout the nine-tailed monster royal's body. Even her soul, which was an ethereal thing, began to recover. Supreme Master of Alchemy. The nine-tailed monarch beast, who had just woken up, glanced at Tianyang with a single word in her mind. "You're finally awake?" At this moment, Tianyang looked up at the dusky sky outside and stood up. Although the nine-tailed monster emperor did not understand what was going on, she also stood up and said, "Why is it only the two of us now? Where are the Purple King Sky and the Purple King Sky?" "They went to help you deal with the large group of demons who were clamoring to become the nine-tailed fox clan's vassals after eating the meat soup. They don't have time to care about you. Besides, what you need to do now is not to care about your descendants," Tianyang said indifferently. A sharp light flashed in his eyes and shot toward the sky. As if it could pierce through everything, Tianyang's gaze ignored all obstacles and landed directly on Forefather Golden Flame and the other two. The nine-tailed monster emperor followed Tianyang's gaze and her expression changed instantly. "That's Forefather Golden Flame and the people from the ancient shrine? Damn it, how can these people react so quickly?" The nine-tailed monster emperor's expression darkened. She had never expected Forefather Golden Flame to react so quickly. Last time, when Golden Flame was killed, the violent Flame Lion King took a week to react. This time, the violent Flame Lion King was killed in less than a day, and Golden Flame Ancestor was already here. And he had brought two helpers from the ancient shrine with him? The ancient shrine? So those two reaching heaven states are from the ancient shrine. No wonder their clothes look familiar. Tianyang raised his eyebrows slightly. If that's the case, then those two fellows are enemies and not friends. When returning from the East Sea Dragon Palace, Tianyang had met Ku Aoyang, a disciple of the ancient shrine who wanted to steal the secret of the Sword Star from Sword Star City. Tianyang was not naive enough to believe that the ancient shrine would be so magnanimous as to let go of their disciple's death and the secret they wanted. Revenge would come sooner or later. Now it had come. "Let's go." At this moment, Tianyang said calmly. Then he turned his eyes away and operated his genuine vitality at the peak of the half-reaching heaven state. The void-stepping secret skill was released. The void-stepping secret skill had been upgraded countless times. It had reached the highest level. In terms of speed, even if the nine-tailed monster emperor was twice as fast, Tianyang would still be able to compete with her. The nine-tailed monster emperor was surprised. "Where are we going?" "To kill people. 10,000 miles away." The Golden Flame Forefather and the First Elder of the ancient shrine suddenly changed their expressions. "They've found us," the Golden Flame Forefather said seriously. The First Elder of the ancient shrine nodded, his face gloomy. He had planned to launch a surprise attack to kill the nine-tailed monster emperor, then find Tianyang and cut him into pieces. But now that the nine-tailed monster emperor had found them, she must be on guard. It was impossible to launch a surprise attack now. If the nine-tailed monster emperor activated the protective formation, they might not be able to break it even if they joined hands, let alone find the nine-tailed monster emperor and Tianyang and kill them. "Damn it, we were too careless." The First Elder of the ancient shrine's face darkened. The emissary of the ancient shrine next to him suddenly changed his expression and looked around in a panic. "Who's there?" "Emissary, what happened?" said the great elder of the ancient shrine. The emissary of the ancient shrine had the most powerful perception technique. Even the great elder of the ancient shrine might not be able to compare to it. Now that the emissary of the ancient shrine's expression had suddenly changed, it was not without reason. The Golden Flame Forefather next to him suddenly changed his expression and looked in the direction of the nine-tailed Saint Mountain. Nothing happened. At this moment, a faint sneer came from the sky. The three of them looked up and their pupils shrank. Unbeknownst to them, two people had already appeared above their heads. Boom! Boom! At this moment, a series of sonic booms could be heard. "This guy is just looking for us," Tianyang smiled. Chapter 771. Tianyang, the Nine-Tailed Monster Emperor. The First Elder of Ancient God Temple and Ancestor Golden Flame both screamed. Then they disappeared from where they were, retreating dozens of miles away. The emissary of the Ancient God Temple didn't react until Ancestor Golden Flame and the First Elder of the Ancient God Temple left. His cultivation was only at LV4 of the Heaven Ascension realm, not much different from the Blazing Lion King. Even Forefather Golden Flame, who was at LV6 of the Heaven Ascension realm, and the projection of the Ancient Shrine Grand Elder, who was at the same level, had retreated. However, even though they had retreated so far away, their expressions were still extremely gloomy, and they looked at Tianyang and the emissary in silence for a long time. The great elder of the ancient god temple didn't even notice that there was such a person above his head. Although he was only a projection, he still had the sole perception of a LV7 Heaven Ascension Realm expert, but he hadn't sensed anything at all. If the emissary's expression hadn't changed drastically, and Tianyang hadn't spoken, he might still be chatting under the other's feet. Forefather Golden Flame's thoughts were much simpler. When had the nine-tailed monster emperor become so strong? How could she suddenly appear above my head? TSK, don't retreat so far away. We're not demons who commit murder, arson, and plunder. What's there to be afraid of? Seeing the actions of the Golden Flame ancestor and the ancient shrine elder, Tianyang couldn't help but laugh. Was he that scary? Even these great beings who stood at the pinnacle of the continent's pyramid were so scared of him? Humph! The only response to Tianyang was a cold snort from Forefather Golden Flame. As for the ancient shrine Grand Elder, although he didn't say anything, his eyes were cold and sinister. You didn't commit arson, or plunder, but how many people have you killed since you entered the Central Region? The Demon Blade Sect, the Purple Sun Sect, the Heavenly Demon Cult, Heavenly Een Mountain, and many other powerful geniuses from other factions. Haven't you killed them all without restraint? Which of the various major forces that had been unknown to the world and whose name had shaken the continent had not been killed by him? This guy was a true murderous demon king. Of course, the great elder of the ancient god hall did not care about the other forces, but since they dared to kill his disciples, then, go to hell. The emissary of the ancient god temple suddenly roared, and the vital essence of the fourth tier of the Heaven Ascension stage surged out of his body. The next moment, a strange black airflow erupted from the emissary's body. Then, the emissary of the ancient god temple waved his sleeve, and his face turned pale. At the same time, countless black-robed skeletons suddenly appeared. Like an army, they were organized in an orderly manner. Tianyang's expression changed slightly. This is the legendary army of refined corpses? Tianyang was slightly surprised. Each and every one of these skeletons had an aura above the 5th level of Sea of Soul Realm, and as far as the eye could see, there were at least tens of thousands of skeletons. That's right. At least you have some knowledge. This is the legendary perfect army that requires the extraction of souls in order to refine, the corpse refining army. Hearing this, the emissary of the ancient god temple laughed and looked at Tianyang mockingly. For this army of refined corpses, I have killed many spiritual king experts, even those at the peak of the half-step to Heaven Ascension stage. Today, you will become a member of my army of refined corpses. The emissary of the ancient god temple laughed loudly. The next moment, the vital essence in his hand circulated, and the eyes of the tens of thousands of spiritual king skeletons suddenly flashed, and a soul fire burned. However, unlike Sanguinati's soul fire, which was the real soul, the soul fire of these skeletons was, in fact, just an actuator. It was just a consciousness to kill. Refined corpse army kill. The emissary of the ancient god temple laughed loudly. Seeing this, the nine-tailed monster emperor changed her expression and looked at Tianyang. Do you need me to take action? Hearing this, Tianyang shook his head and looked at the great elder of the ancient god temple and ancestor Golden Flame, who were watching with cold faces. No need. This is just a test, Tianyang said indifferently. A black light flashed in his hand, and the stick sword, a medium-grade spiritual weapon, appeared in his hand. Seeing this, Ancestor Golden Flame and the great elder of the ancient god temple changed their expressions, and the emissary of the ancient god temple even showed a mocking expression. A medium-grade spiritual weapon? You are indeed an inferior human without any power. You are almost in the Heaven Ascension stage, but you can only use such a medium-grade spiritual weapon. You want to use a medium-grade spiritual weapon to resist my army of refined corpses? Humph! My army of refined corpses can smash your rubbish medium-grade spiritual weapon into pieces with a single attack. Refined corpse army, roar of refined corpses. The emissary of the ancient god temple laughed energetically. Following this order, countless refined corpses showed a hint of blood-red light. It had been too long since they had moved, and too long since they had drunk blood. The refined corpse army was a strange technique created by a powerful demonic cultivator in ancient times. Not only did they need to extract souls to refine corpses, but they also needed to be fed fresh blood regularly. The stronger the refined corpses were, the more fresh blood they needed. Looking at the situation, the emissary of the ancient god temple had killed countless people in order to cultivate this army of refined corpses. Although it is called the #1 sacred land of martial arts, in fact, what it does is no different from the heavenly Een Mountain. Tianyang said indifferently. Seeing the blood-red light condensing and the army of refined corpses about to attack at the same time, the Styx sword in his hand flashed. Humph! How can the heavenly Een mountain be compared to the ancient god temple? Boy, before you die, let me tell you something. In this world, strength is the right path. Now, die under the roar of the refined corpses. The emissary of the ancient god temple laughed wildly and pointed a finger. Roar! Countless refined corpses let out a deafening roar at this moment, and in the next moment, a blood-red pillar of chaotic soul light condensed. The roar of the refined corpses specifically targets the soul. As long as he is hit by this move, this human boy's soul will definitely shatter and become a member of my refined corpse army. The emissary of the ancient god temple laughed maniacally. Thinking that a prodigy like Tianyang was about to become a part of his power, he could not help but laugh out loud. At this moment, Tianyang looked at the pillar of chaotic soul light and sighed softly. Who gave you the confidence? In the next moment, his soul power surged. Soul-shattering nether soul. Heaven's wrath. Tianyang shouted coldly and slashed out with the Styx sword in his hand. A dazzling radiance almost caused the already dark sky to fall into hell. Countless gloomy auras were released, causing many people's faces to change drastically. The martial honorable realm's spiritual energy that had submitted to Su-Mo had exploded. The expressions of the ancient god temple grand elder and patriarch Golden Flame instantly changed drastically. Their soul power trembled wildly, as if they were about to bow down and worship the young man in front of them. What is going on? The ancient god temple grand elder roared crazily. At this moment, that sword light had already charged into the refined corpse army. No! The emissary of the ancient god temple roared crazily. The so-called roar of the refined corpses was useless in front of soul-shattering nether soul heaven's fury. The moment it came into contact with the sword light, it collapsed. As for the refined corpse army of more than 10,000, their soul fires were easily extinguished, and under the sword light, they turned into bone dust one by one. In a short moment, the refined corpse army was completely annihilated. Chapter 772. What? Seeing Tianyang annihilate the emissary's refined corpse army with one stroke, not only the emissary himself, but also the Golden Flame ancestor, the Great Elder, and the nine-tailed monster emperor were shocked. They all knew that Tianyang was very strong and had killed the famous fiery fire lion king with one stroke. But, apart from the nine-tailed monster emperor, who had witnessed it with her own eyes, the Golden Flame nine-headed lion king's people didn't really believe it. When Tianyang showed that he was at the peak of the half-reaching heaven realm, they didn't believe it at all. Reaching the peak of the half-reaching heaven realm at the age of 20 was indeed a genius among geniuses. But the fiery fire lion king was an expert at the peak of LV3 of the heavenly realm. It was only one step away from LV4 of the heavenly realm. It was impossible for a peak of the half-reaching heaven realm to do it, even if he had a superb spiritual weapon. But now they believed it. They had to believe it. The emissary held his breath, his face full of disbelief. His whole body was trembling. He was shocked and angry. This heavenly son had actually been able to destroy his refined corpse army with a single slash. Tianyang had dared to annihilate his refined corpse army with one stroke. Boy, you've completely infuriated me now. The emissary's face was gloomy as he enunciated each word. The refined corpse army had been created by slaughtering millions of creatures and tens of thousands of spirit kings. Normally, such an army wouldn't even have a chance to make a move. However, the Sky Sun's sword had turned them into ashes that filled the sky. The emissary looked calm, but in fact, he was extremely furious. Low-class heaven-level martial technique, ancient god's sky-shaking fist. At this moment, the emissary suddenly disappeared. The next moment, his LV4 heavenly realm vital essence surged rapidly, and a terrifying fist technique was formed in an instant. Seeing this, Tianyang raised his eyebrows. The vital essence of the emissary seemed to be similar to a cultivation method, but it was too crude. At most, it could only be used as a guide. It wasn't very useful in a real battle. As the #1 martial holy land of the human clan, the ancient god's temple wasn't completely useless. At least, they had restored a little of the cultivation method. Although it's useless. Tianyang smiled faintly. Looking at the emissary, the Styx sword disappeared from his hand. The dragon elixir in his heart erupted. 108 divine dragon tattoos released a powerful divine dragon force that could suppress the heavens and the earth. It gathered around Tianyang's body, and it seemed as though a divine dragon was floating around his body. A tyrannical bloodline pressure was also released. Feeling this pressure, Golden Flame Ancestor's expression changed greatly. This is the dragon bloodline. At least dragon bloodline of the dragon bloodline. Damn it. ISN is dragon bloodline of the dragon bloodline dragon bloodline? In that case, he couldn't let the emissary of the ancient shrine deal with Tianyang alone. Great Elder of the ancient god temple, let's go. The Golden Flame Patriarch shouted and disappeared. The Great Elder of the ancient god temple pondered for a while, then nodded and charged out. However, nine-tailed, space freezing. At this moment, a cold shout came from the side. The Golden Flame Patriarch and the Great Elder of the ancient god temple were blocked by the frozen space. They couldn't get close to Tianyang at all. Nine-tailed monster emperor, how dare you stop me? The Golden Flame Patriarch's face darkened. Looking at the nine-tailed monster emperor, monster aura surged out of his body. Behind him, the shadow of the Golden Flame nine-headed lion slowly appeared. The Great Elder of the ancient god temple beside him also darkened. He released his genuine vitality of LV6 Heaven Ascension Realm. Why wouldn't I dare? The nine-tailed monster emperor smiled faintly. Her 9 fox tails swayed as she activated her monster aura and charged forward. On the battlefield between the emissary of the ancient god temple and Tianyang, Dragon King's divine fist, 10,000 dragons slaughtering gods. Tianyang wouldn't hold back against an expert of LV4 Heaven Ascension Realm. He used his most proficient heaven-class inferior fist technique right off the bat. However, Tianyang didn't use his spiritual strength. In terms of spiritual strength, he could easily kill any expert below LV5 Heaven Ascension Realm. However, that was under the condition that his opponent was unprepared. For example, the Fiery Lion King and the Refined Corpse Army were completely defenseless before. Using spiritual attack when one was unprepared was naturally the best option. However, if one was prepared, the effect of spiritual attack would be greatly reduced. Dragon King's Divine Fist. You're actually in contact with the East Sea Dragon Palace? The emissary of the ancient god temple exclaimed in disbelief when he saw the countless dragon aura condense in the blink of an eye. To be able to condense so much dragon aura in an instant, the strength of the Dragon King's Divine Fist had at least reached the perfection realm. A kid who wasn't even 20 years old had not only a strong cultivation, but also a powerful body and sword principle. Even his martial skill cultivation was so profound. Had this kid started cultivating before he was born? However, as a heaven-class inferior martial skill, I don't believe that my ancient god's sky-shaking fist is inferior to the dragon clan's. Destroy! The emissary of the ancient god temple roared and released his vital essence violently. The ancient god's sky-shaking fist condensed a huge ancient god figure behind him, releasing a primitive aura. This was the totem of the ancient god temple and the inheritance of the ancient god temple. The ancient god. Humph, ancient god? If that's all an ancient god can do, he doesn't deserve to be called a god. Tianyang smiled contemptuously. The power of the Dragon King's Divine Fist was completely unleashed. Boom! the nine-tailed monster emperor, ancestor Golden Flame, and the great elder of the ancient god temple had just started fighting when a terrifying, earth-shattering sound erupted. The three of them were interrupted by the loud sound before they had even started fighting. The nine-tailed monster emperor looked worried, while ancestor Golden Flame and the others were very proud. The emissary of the ancient god temple even used a heaven-class inferior martial skill. Isn't it a piece of cake to deal with a human bastard at the peak of the half-step to heavenly completion realm? Nine-tailed monster emperor, just you wait. The nine-tailed fox clan will be destroyed and your position will fall into the hands of the Golden Flame nine-headed lion clan. Ancestor Golden Flame laughed loudly. The great elder of the ancient god temple next to him nodded with a hint of complacency. The emissary of the ancient god temple was not any lower than an ordinary high-level elder. Dealing with a half-step to heavenly completion realm was like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. Boom! Another loud sound was heard. At this time, the dazzling light produced by the collision of the two sides gradually dissipated. A figure flew out of the light, spitting out blood. The three of them did not have time to react before the figure crashed heavily into a mountain hundreds of miles away. Blood gushed out of his mouth. He was unconscious. Sorry. The winner seems to be me. When the light dissipated, Tianyang threw away the bloody arm he had just torn off and smiled. Chapter 773. Peak of LV, one of the reaching heaven realm? Sensing the powerful aura that Tianyang suddenly exuded, the ancient god temple grand elder and ancestor Golden Flame could not help but exclaim in shock. Just now, Tianyang was just an ordinary expert at the peak of the half-step to reaching heaven realm. How did he suddenly break through a realm and reach the peak of LV, one of the reaching heaven realm? Such an increase in cultivation was rarely seen in one's life. Sure enough, the further I go, the more difficult it is to improve my cultivation using the Devouring Sky secret skill. When I fought with Blood Demon King Suemo, I was almost in this realm. Now, my cultivation has reached the peak of the half-step to reaching heaven realm, but when I use the Devouring Sky martial soul talent, I'm still in this realm. If I want to continue improving, the heaven-level martial soul will not be able to satisfy me. Tianyang muttered to himself as the heavenly sword in his hand flickered. When he fought with Blood Demon King, it was because there was an almost endless amount of demonic aura around him that he could absorb. Now, without the demonic aura, Tianyang could barely reach the peak of LV, one of the reaching heaven realm. Now, these people in front of me are exactly what I want. Tianyang's mouth curled up slightly, revealing a look of desire. Heavenly sword, I haven't eaten for a long time. Whoosh! Tianyang used the 10,000 paths body technique and disappeared in an instant. In the blink of an eye, he broke through ancestor Golden Flame and the ancient god temple grand elder, and arrived in front of the ancient god temple emissary. What? Ancestor Golden Flame and the ancient god temple grand elder's expressions changed greatly. They hurriedly turned around, looking frightened. Just now, how could Tianyang's speed be so fast? D***MNit. He can reach the peak of LV, one of the reaching heaven realm, from the half-step to the peak of LV, one of the reaching heaven realm. This kid must have mastered an extremely powerful secret skill. Maybe it's from the sword star. Such a treasure can't fall into the hands of an ant with no background. The great elder of the ancient shrine thought for a while. Then, with a straight face, he shouted at Tianyang with a righteous tone. Boy, how dare you attack the emissary of the ancient god temple? You are courting death. The next moment, the great elder of the ancient shrine also used a powerful body technique. He disappeared from where he was and chased after Tianyang. At this moment, ancestor Golden Flame suddenly reacted. He transformed into his original form and rushed after the great elder of the ancient shrine. What the first elder of the ancient god temple could guess, he could also guess. For the secret skill that could greatly improve his cultivation, the so-called alliance, it didn't exist. Damn it, I didn't manage to stop them. At this moment, the nine-tailed monster emperor's expression changed. She also executed her movement technique and chased after them. Come back! At this moment, in front of the emissary of the ancient god temple, Tianyang's calm smile reappeared in the eyes of the emissary of the ancient god shrine. The emissary's face suddenly turned pale with fright. What do you want? The emissary of the ancient god temple roared. His body had been shattered and he didn't even have the strength to get up. He could only look at Tianyang in horror. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression didn't change. He slashed out with the great void sword embryo that was attached to the heavenly sword. Sky pole sword technique, third move, star burial. His genuine essence gushed out rapidly. A terrifying sword radiance, as bright as the Milky Way, poured out from the blade of the great void sword embryo. It was like the Milky Way from the ninth heaven, carrying with it a terrifying power that could bury stars. Damn it! The emissary of the ancient god temple narrowed his eyes and his expression changed greatly. Tianyang didn't play by the rules. If he could stall for 1 or 2 minutes, he could still wait for the great elder of the ancient god temple to come to his rescue. But now, lower heaven-level martial soul, vine of life. The emissary of the ancient god temple roared. The next moment, a dense light appeared from his hand. The next moment, it suddenly expanded. Boom! A huge green vine, as thick as the mouth of a vat, suddenly grew out from the emissary of the ancient god temple's hand. After a few breaths, the vine's thickness had increased tremendously. Almost everything within a radius of 10 miles was covered by this terrifying vine. You forced me to use the vine of life. I have to say, as a rogue cultivator who hasn't reached the age of 20, you are very successful. At this moment, with the vine of life, the emissary of the ancient god temple, who had been quickly healed by the strong vitality, stood up with a ferocious face. Looking at the vine of life, which had almost formed a world of vines around him, Tianyang raised his eyebrows slightly. It actually contains a huge amount of vitality. No wonder it's a lower heaven-level martial soul. It's really powerful. Tianyang chuckled. Hearing this, the emissary of the ancient god temple sneered. You are quite knowledgeable. My vine of life is one of the few heaven-level martial souls in Tianshao Great World today. Although its attack power is not strong, it is enough to deal with you. Vine of life, 10,000 vine attack. The emissary of the ancient god temple roared, and the power of his martial soul gushed out crazily. The countless green vines around him disappeared instantly. Then, they rushed toward Tianyang like a storm. Boom, 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 boom. The sound of countless vines whipping could be heard. The shield that Tianyang had formed in a short period of time could not withstand the terrifying attack of the lower heaven-level martial soul. Soon, it exploded. Ha ha ha. The vine of life is my trump card. It is much more powerful than the fiery fire lion king. In this world, all the enemies who have seen my vine of life are dead. You are no exception. The emissary of the ancient god temple laughed crazily. He continued to command the vine of life to attack. While attacking, the vine of life also transferred waves of strong vitality to him, allowing him to recover rapidly. Outside the world of vines, the emissary has used the vine of life. The great elder of the ancient god temple suddenly stopped. He looked at the terrifying life vines that covered an area of 10 miles and whose aura swept over 10,000 miles. Golden Flame Ancestor, stop. The emissary does not need our help now. The great elder of the ancient god temple waved his hand and said. His eyes shone with fear. The lower heaven-level martial soul was a terrifying martial soul that only existed in legends. Although the emissary's strength was not strong, with the vine of life martial soul, no one in this world could kill him. He had thought that the emissary would need his help to get through this crisis, but now it seemed that the arrogant kid was dead meat. Vine of life? So, the emissary is the undying reverend of the ancient god temple? Hearing these 4 words, Golden Flame Ancestor stopped in shock and asked in astonishment, "What are you talking about?" The great elder of the ancient god temple nodded. "That's right." The 9-tailed monster emperor's face changed when she heard that the undying reverend was dead. The undying reverend was the legend of the undying world. No wonder the 2 of them dared to let him fight with Tianyang. It was because of this. Ah, kid, you can't hold on any longer, right? Since we've already come this far, there's no harm in me telling you. I'm the famous undying reverend of the ancient god temple. The emissary of the ancient god temple laughed and looked at Tianyang, who was covered by the vines of life and could not be seen. Between the vines, Tianyang suddenly looked up. His eyes flashed and the corners of his mouth curled into a subtle smile. Someone claimed to be undying in front of the undying bloodline? The evaluation is complete. This vine of life is not bad. I'll devour it. The undying reverend? Then let me break the legend of the undying bloodline. Tianyang smiled. In the next moment, the great void sword embryo in his hand emitted a dazzling xinguang. The 9-colored xinguang rotated in the heavenly sword. He struck with the sword. Chapter 774. Thousands of vines were broken. As the messenger of the ancient god shrine, the undying reverend's martial soul had sensed it the moment the vine of life was broken. However, a millisecond ago, the undying reverend had thought that it was normal for a vine of life to be broken. However, a millisecond later, how is this possible? The ancient god shrine's messenger's eyes widened as he roared. Looking at his broken vines of life, he almost went crazy. The life vine was a low heaven-ranked martial spirit. Ordinary spiritual artifacts, even high-grade spiritual artifacts, wouldn't be able to destroy it, not to mention that so many vines of life had been broken in an instant. Even if the first elder were to make a move, it would still be impossible for him to accomplish such a feat. What? In the distance, the great elder of the ancient god shrine's face changed. The undying reverend's vine of life was broken? How is this possible? This kid must be lucky or the messenger was careless. Otherwise, how could a human kid break the messenger's heaven-class martial soul? The Golden Flame Ancestor shook his head and comforted himself. In the next moment, the broken vine of life, which had disappeared in an instant, slapped them hard in the face. Devour. Tianyang's face did not change. He activated the devouring power that he had not used for a long time and swallowed the broken vine of life into the heavenly sword. A pure and powerful martial soul power was quickly refined by the heavenly sword. Tianyang's face showed a trace of satisfaction. The vine of life was related to the life Tao. Although the life Tao was different from the life and destruction Tao that Tianyang had comprehended, it was still useful. However, it would still be of some help. Furthermore, the Heavenly Son's undying bloodline also happened to be related to the Tao of life. If I can devour the vine of life, I might be able to activate my undying bloodline. Tianyang's heart skipped a beat. He did not know how the Tian family head had activated his undying bloodline, but he knew. The undying bloodline was definitely related to the life Tao. A heaven-class martial soul was a manifestation of the Tao. Don't think that you can be arrogant just because you don't know what means you used to sever my life vine. That was just the appetizer. The emissary of the ancient god temple also returned to his original appearance. His face was extremely gloomy, and his body was surging with killing intent. God knows how many years it had been. How many years had it been since his martial spirit had suffered such great damage? Ever since he had awakened his martial spirit and become a disciple of the ancient shrine, his martial spirit hadn't been harmed in the slightest. Even if it had been damaged before he became a disciple of the ancient shrine. Now, as the undying venerable, who was above everyone in the ancient god hall, his martial soul had been severely injured. Die, brat! The emissary of the ancient god temple roared, and the vital essence in his body surged out violently. Countless vines of life grew out of his hands and then turned into long rattan spears. Vine of life, rain of life. With a loud roar, the long rattan spears automatically left the hands of the emissary of the ancient god temple and turned into a terrifying long spear that was not inferior to a middle-grade spiritual weapon. The spear pierced through the space. Countless spears rained down, and the entire space was almost turned into a sieve. Its power is not bad. Tianyang raised his eyebrows slightly and smiled. It seems that this is not a simple lower heaven-class martial soul. However, the more complicated it is, the better. With that, the great void sword embryo in Tianyang's hands burst out a dazzling light again. Martial soul? For Tianyang, the grade of a martial soul was useless, except for the value of devouring it. This was because all martial souls were nothing in front of the heavenly sword, which could devour martial souls. Now I can test the life and death Tao that I have just comprehended a few days ago on you. Tianyang smiled. Strange lights flashed on the great void sword embryo in his hands. Black and white intertwined, and the aura of life and death appeared on the great void sword embryo at the same time. Seeing this, the emissary of the ancient god temple was slightly stunned, and then he sneered. Playing tricks. In the next moment countless spears rained down. Blossom in one thought. Tianyang said indifferently. Looking at the spears raining down, he slashed out with the great void sword embryo in his hand. The sword was very, very slow, as if it had reached its limit. Seeing this sword, the emissary of the ancient god temple laughed wildly. He laughed crazily and said, "Ha ha ha! Have you given up on yourself? How dare you use such a sword to deal with my spears?" In the next moment, boom! Tianyang's sword did not hit anything and fell down. At this moment, the spears raining down seemed to have stopped in their tracks. A terrifying aura of life was released from the spears of life. In an instant, it filled the entire world of vines. What's going on? The emissary of the ancient god temple was shocked. Looking at the spears raining down with the aura of life, he did not understand what had happened. In the next moment, Tianyang spoke again. Blossom in one thought. The sword struck out again. But this time it was extremely fast. The countless spears raining down froze at this moment, and so did the aura of life. Before the emissary of the ancient god temple could react, the world of vines was stained with a layer of yellow. Phew! Tianyang blew a breath of air. Boom! The world of vines was instantly turned into ashes and disappeared from this world. Even in the hands of the emissary of the ancient god temple, the green aura of life was quickly stained by the yellow and collapsed quietly. Puff! The emissary of the ancient god temple suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His aura weakened. Pointing at Tianyang with a trembling finger, he spoke in an extremely weak voice. You. How did you do it?" Hearing this, Tianyang smiled faintly. "Nothing. It's just that my Tao of life and destruction is much stronger than your Tao of life." In the next moment, Tianyang's figure disappeared. The great void sword embryo in his hand suddenly emitted a terrifying devouring power. It swallowed all the aura of life and martial soul power in the air that did not dissipate in time into the sword. In the distance, the first elder of the ancient god temple's face suddenly changed. "Tianyang, how dare you!" The golden flame ancestor and the nine-tailed monster emperor also changed their faces and revealed looks of disbelief. The emissary of the ancient god temple looked like a madman as he stared at the incoming Tianyang. "Why wouldn't I dare?" Tianyang smiled faintly and then stabbed out with his sword. Puff! The emissary of the ancient god temple's heart was directly pierced through by the sword. At the same time, the heavenly sword's powerful devouring power rushed into the emissary's mind and swept away his martial soul power. The true flames of destruction burned the emissary of the ancient god temple, the undying venerable, into ashes. Chapter 775. I'm going to kill you." A furious roar came from behind. The next moment, the great elder of the ancient god temple appeared in front of Tianyang with bloodshot eyes and punched out. The emissary of the ancient god temple was the undying venerable of the ancient god temple. His status was much higher than that of Kuoyang's. In the end, his fate was the same as Kuoyang's. He died at the hands of Tianyang. "There are so many people who want to kill me. Do you think it's your turn?" Upon hearing that, Tianyang smiled faintly. He slashed out with the great void sword embryo in his hand and blocked the sword easily. At the same time, he used the 10,000 paths body technique and retreated rapidly, dodging the great elder's next attack. "You're just a nobody who has such strength because of your secret skill. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me?" Hearing that, the great elder of the ancient god temple was furious. As the great elder of the ancient god temple, when had he ever been humiliated like this? He stood at the top of the pyramid of this continent and was one of the strongest men in the world. "How dare you kill the undying venerable of the ancient god temple? Today you must die." The great elder of the ancient god temple roared angrily. The genuine core energy in his body circulated rapidly. The aura of a LV6 Heaven Ascension realm exploded from the great elder of the ancient god temple. Boom! The surrounding space was shattered by the overbearing aura, revealing deep space cracks. The next moment, the great elder of the ancient god temple's face turned ferocious. Medium heaven class martial technique, ancient god body. The great elder of the ancient god temple roared angrily. Then, an enormous ancient god body appeared behind him. Seeing that, Tianyang raised his eyebrows slightly. An ancient god from the ancient times? Ancient gods were called gods because they were unique. Although Tianyang did not know much about the legends of the ancient gods, the ancient god temple had a totem. The ancient god temple was able to use the ancient god as a totem and had been passed down for millions of years. As a totem, the ancient god could not be weak. The ancient gods of the primordial era had the aura to swallow mountains and rivers. They controlled the stars and trampled all over the world. They were invincible. With the power of the ancient god, form the invincible body. Ancient god body condense. The grand elder of the ancient god shrine let out a loud roar. His imposing manner of LV6 of the heaven-reaching realm burst out completely. The ancient god's body behind him was rapidly solidifying. Then, at the moment when it was solidified to the extreme, the ancient god's body suddenly rushed forward and merged into the body of the great elder of the temple of the ancient god. Crackle, the sound of bones stretching and muscles contracting came from the great elder of the ancient shrine. The great elder of the ancient shrine's face suddenly became ferocious. His withered body, which was at most 1.7 meters tall, was now over 1.9 meters tall. His emaciated and weak limbs seemed to have received the blessing of some god of strength. His muscles bulged, and his aura rose from the 6th level of the Heaven Ascension realm to the middle of the 6th level of the Heaven Ascension realm. He was only a hair away from the peak of the reaching heaven state. The body of an ancient god can move heaven and earth. Die brat. Low-grade heaven-class martial technique, ancient god's heaven-shaking fist. The great elder of the ancient shrine laughed savagely. His feet suddenly stepped on the air, and a terrifying force was released from his feet. His figure instantly disappeared from where he stood. The ancient god's body's enhancement to one's cultivation was secondary. The increase in strength was the most terrifying aspect. The ancient gods had dominated the wildlands with their incomparably terrifying strength, and they had dominated the world. Sky Extreme Sword Art, 4th Sword, Firmament. At this time, Tianyang's face turned serious. In his heart, the Divine Dragon's Dragon Core was constantly releasing the power of the Divine Dragon. The power of the Divine Dragon's bloodline was stimulated to the extreme. In his dantian, the divine wilderness heaven spirit art was circulating rapidly. Like a flood bursting through a dam, a terrifying vital essence poured out and condensed on Tianyong's sword. A sword slashed out, stepping on the common people, dominating the firmament. Boom! Dazzling, gorgeous, wild, and domineering sword light burst out from the blade of the great void sword embryo. It was no less terrifying than an upper-grade spiritual weapon. It burst out in an instant and merged with the sword. Stubborn resistance. The great elder of the ancient shrine laughed savagely. His huge fist collided with the sword light. Boom! The collision caused the entire world to tremble. The speed at which the spatial ripples spread was even faster than the speed of sound. When the spatial ripples spread out like raindrops, the spatial ripples spread out. Only then did the voice come out. It made people's eardrums tremble. The collision between the two of them is so powerful. The nine-tailed monster queen suddenly attacked and pushed herself back a few miles. She looked at Tianyong, who was fighting fiercely with the great elder of the ancient shrine, in horror. This collision did not seem to be very powerful, but the nine-tailed monster queen was very clear. If it wasn't for the fact that the two of them had both used all of their power to attack, the two of them would have died. Otherwise, the impact alone was enough to destroy the space and shatter the entire mountain range into pieces. Nine-tailed sacred mountain. Countless members of the monster race also sensed the terrifying noise that was happening tens of thousands of miles away. Their expressions changed drastically. Those below the Sea of Souls realm could only hear the sound and guess that there were two powerful warriors fighting. As for those above the spiritual sea realm, especially the nine-tailed fox clan's Spirit King realm experts, they were extremely powerful. The moment he heard it, he recognized one of the fluctuations. Yes, master. Ling Yuhan suddenly stood up, and the cold sky sword appeared in her hand. Her true essence was released along with the terrifying power of the Ice Emperor's heavenly sword art. The power of the peak of the 8th level of Sea of Souls realm, coupled with the power of the 9 Nether Saint body and the natural suppression of the 9-tailed sky moon fox. At that moment, the entire 9-tailed sacred mountain fell silent. It is indeed Tianyong. And Father's aura. Zi Tianwang nodded at the side, and his face revealed a trace of seriousness. It seems that Tianyong's killing of the Flaming Lion King has infuriated those almighties after all. I'm afraid this battle will determine the leader of the monster race in the wasteland, Zi Tianwang said. Then, he looked at the clans in front of him who wanted to join the Nine-Tailed Fox clan and become their vassals. Many of these clans were attracted by Tianyong's amazing performance, and many of them were attracted by the Heavenly Ascension Realm LV3 elixir of flesh from the monster race around Fortune Lake. Zi Tianwang had been busy with these matters for the past few days. Now, most of the people who could be here had already confirmed their loyalty. Looking at the leaders and ancestors of these clans, Zi Tianwang's expression changed, and he suddenly raised his head. Everyone, do you want to join the Nine-Tailed Fox clan and contribute your strength to the Nine-Tailed Fox clan? Do you want to become a vassal of the Nine-Tailed Fox clan and become a demon among demons? Zi Tianwang roared. Hearing this, all the clan's representatives roared in anger. Yes. Then, now there is a chance. It is also the last test for all of you. Zi Tianwang's lips curled into a smile. He was the heir of the Demon King, and next to him was the disciple of the Nine-Tailed Fox clan's strongest ally, the princess of the Nine-Tailed Fox clan. How could they not participate in such a great battle? They were only in the Sea of Souls realm, and they would only die if they interfered in the battle between the strongest. However, those below the Heavenly Ascension realm, they would be controlled by them. What test? Hearing this last test, countless clans' representatives were excited. If they passed this time, they would finally become a clan under the protection of the Nine-Tailed Fox clan. Chapter 776. The entire wasteland demon realm was in an uproar. The raging flame lion king had killed his way to the nine-tailed sacred mountain and defeated the nine-tailed monster emperor, only to be killed by Tianyang. Now, the nine-tailed monster emperor Tianyang, forefather Golden Flame, and an unknown expert were fighting. Countless nine-tailed fox vassals and the nine-tailed fox clan's army had been mobilized to suppress the Golden Flame nine-headed lion. This was a major event that could shake the entire wasteland demon realm. Some unimaginably old men stared blankly at the demon race experts flying out of the sky like locusts, muttering to themselves, "The wasteland demon realm is going to change. Nine-tailed monster emperor, your cultivation level is one level lower than mine. If you don't want to die, get lost now." Admit that the Golden Flame nine-headed lion clan is the true royal family of the demon realm. Otherwise, you will die here today. Forefather Golden Flame sneered at the nine-tailed monster emperor, who had been knocked back by his punch, spitting out blood. As the forefather of the Golden Flame nine-headed lion clan, he had lived for a very long time. Even at the very least, he had lived for more than 3,000 years. Although the nine-tailed monster emperor was close to 1,000 years old, she paled in comparison to forefather Golden Flame, who was more than 3,000 years old. No matter how talented the nine-tailed monster emperor was, she couldn't make up for the difference of 2,000 years. The position of monster emperor? Bah! How can a half-dead lion become the monster emperor of the demon realm? When the time comes, the entire wasteland demon realm will be ruled by you alone. The nine-tailed monster emperor wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, spat, and sneered. How could the nine-tailed monster emperor, who had been at odds with forefather Golden Flame for decades, not know what kind of person he was? Without a doubt, this guy was the purest self-centered person. Even if it was his son or grandson, he would sacrifice them as long as they didn't work for him. The Golden Flame nine-headed lion clan was also full of demon geniuses. Why was the raging flame lion king, who was only 1,000 years old and was the great-grandson of forefather Golden Flame, the clan leader? The reason was obvious at a glance. Forefather Golden Flame had come to Nine-Tailed Sacred Mountain not only because his great-grandson had been killed, but also because this was an opportunity to seize the position of Monster Emperor. To forefather Golden Flame, the raging Flame Lion King, and Golden Flame, they were all inferior to the position of the Monster Emperor. Humph! So what if I am like this? The Monster Emperor's position. You foolishly treat the people of the Monster Clan kindly, develop the strength of the Monster Clan, and try to compete with the Human Clan to raise the status of the Monster Clan. What's the use of that? U.S. Golden Flame S. Forefather Golden Flame's Golden Demon Golden Flame to Demon Realm. The Golden Flame ancestor mocked as the demonic energy in his body surged. His 9 lion heads were burning with life-bound lion flames that were much more powerful than the blazing Lion King. Emperor Golden Flame, Emperor Demon Beast Demon Emperor Demon King. It would not be too late to kill the 9-tailed demon royal after the Grand Elder of the ancient god temple killed the arrogant brat. These Monster Clan people are worthless. Their only use is to enhance the Monster Emperor's strength. You don't cherish them, and now you want to blame me? Bullsh**. The 9-tailed demon emperor's eyes burned with a raging fire. Her figure suddenly disappeared, and her 9 fox tails released divine light that filled the sky. The people of the demon realm of the wasteland are people, not slaves. The 9-tailed monster emperor roared. Half of her demon force gushed out again and attacked forefather Golden Flame. Low-class heaven-class martial technique, 9 heavens demon suppression fist. The aura of a heavenly completion stage level 5 expert surged, and the surrounding space was unexpectedly released by this pure aura, causing it to shatter. Seeing this, a trace of dread appeared on Ancestor Golden Flame's face. The 9 heavens demon suppression fist was not easy to deal with. However, I'm afraid you're at the end of your rope now. Be obedient and accept your death. The Monster Emperor's position is about to change. Golden Flame Ancestor burst into laughter. He released his natal lion fire and disappeared from where he was. A huge lion claw struck out. Boom! The whole world shook violently. The destroyed mountain range under their feet seemed to have been plowed by a giant plow again and again. The nine-tailed Monster Emperor's expression changed. Blood spilled from her mouth, and she was sent flying again. This time, he had been seriously injured. Although she was talented, she was still a Monster Emperor. However, her strength was only at LV5 Heaven Completion Realm. There was a huge gap between her and the Forefather Golden Flame, who was at LV6 Heaven Completion Realm. Don't tell me that the millions of citizens of the desolate demon realm and the countless descendants of my nine-tailed fox clan are going to be. The nine-tailed Monster Emperor's eyes were blurred. At this moment, Forefather Golden Flame sneered and turned to look in the direction of the great elder of the ancient shrine. He was not in a hurry to kill the nine-tailed Monster Emperor. He wanted the nine-tailed Monster Emperor to see how the Tianyang, who had killed his great-grandson, would be cut to pieces with his own eyes. In this way, the nine-tailed Monster Emperor would definitely counterattack. He could easily suppress her and ascend to the Monster Emperor's position. I wonder how the great elder of the ancient shrine is doing. That kid, who relied on a secret method to reach the peak of LV1 of the Heaven Ascension Realm, will probably be defeated by the great elder of the ancient shrine in one move. Forefather Golden Flame turned around and murmured something. However, before he could finish his words, his pupils suddenly shrank to the extreme. Great Elder of the Ancient Shrine, you call yourself the successor of the ancient gods and one of the strongest men in the world? What? You can't take a beating? Tianyang, who was covered in demonic fire and standing on Shunguang, stepped on the Great Elder's face with his long sword, which was emitting endless sword radiance. Tianyang, how dare you treat me like this? The Great Elder of the Ancient Shrine was furious. He suppressed the urge to vomit blood and roared. Boom! Tianyang kicked him casually. The Great Elder of the Ancient Shrine was sent flying like a cannonball. Your body can't take a beating, but your spirit is quite tenacious. It's a pity that it's just a projection. It can't display its martial soul for me to devour. Tianyang curled his lips. Otherwise, the heaven-level medium heavenly sword would have been completed today. You even made me use 20% of my spiritual power. Damn you. Seeing this, Patriarch Golden Flame was dumbfounded and his whole body turned cold. What happened? Why? The one who was killed was not this human bastard, but the Great Elder of the Ancient Shrine. The Great Elder of the Ancient Shrine stood at the top of the continent. Oh right, there's also a lion head. Tianyang suddenly raised his eyebrows. He didn't bother to pay attention to the Great Elder of the Ancient Shrine who was sent flying by his kick. A fierce killing intent flashed in his eyes. Slaughter territory, activate. Forefather Golden Flame felt that everything around him had turned blood red. His mind was trembling uncontrollably. You severely injured Yuhan's father? Tianyang said indifferently. He used the secret skill of Void Step and instantly appeared in front of Forefather Golden Flame. He swung his left hand violently. Slap. Chapter 777. Human bastard, how dare you hit me? The slap enraged Golden Flame Ancestor. With a roar, he struck out with his claw. This claw was even stronger than the one he'd used against the nine-tailed Monster Emperor. It was the strongest martial technique he'd ever learned. At the same time, it was a super-powerful martial technique that no one in the nine-headed Golden Flame Lion had been able to learn in the past 1,000 years. It was a mid-heaven class technique, Flaming Void-Breaking Claw. Even an expert like the Grand Elder of the Ancient Shrine had to treat this claw with caution. After all, it was a full-force attack from a LV6 Heaven Ascension Realm expert. Unfortunately, Poochie. As the claw struck out, a might that could shatter the heavens and the earth erupted. almost another layer of the ground was shaved off, and even pieces of spirit stones that only existed underground were revealed. Meanwhile, Tianyang raised his hand and caught the golden flame patriarch's claw with incomparable precision. "How dare you? How arrogant! Even the Grand Elder of the ancient shrine doesn't dare to take my flaming void-breaking claw. You may have defeated the Grand Elder, but there's no way you can take this move. Brat, pay the price for your arrogance." Golden Flame Ancestor laughed wildly. His natal lion fire burned fiercely. The temperature that could melt the toughest material in the world burned on the lion claw. Forefather Golden Flame was certain that once his natal lion fire was unleashed, this arrogant human bastard would be turned into a jerky in an instant. "However, you want to show off with this little trick?" Tianyang curled his lips. When he'd used 40% of his strength, he'd been able to beat the Tying Mountain's hierarch into a retard. Now, although he'd only used 20% of his strength, his soul power had reached Wu Zun's level. The flaming void-breaking claw was like a tickle to him. "Kid, how is this possible?" Golden Flame Ancestor's expression changed drastically. His pupils shrank to the size of needles as he roared in disbelief. His flaming void-breaking claw had been easily taken by a human bastard? How was this possible? Flame void-breaking claw, natal lion fire, burn. Ancestor Golden Flame roared madly. However, Tianyang's expression was still indifferent. "If these are your last words, I can satisfy you." In the next instant, the rank 6 spirit fire, true destruction flames, rose. Patriarch Golden Flame's life lion fire seemed to be suppressed by something terrifying. It was suppressed to the limit in an instant, and a supreme power of destruction was released from the true flames of destruction. This was the combination of the annihilation spirit fire, the purging heavenly flames, and the myriad poison netherworld flame. It was a rank 6 spirit fire. The golden flame of the golden flame 9-headed lions wasn't weak, but in front of the true destruction flames, it was no different from trash. The golden flame ancestors' attacks instantly exploded under the terrifying burning of the true flames of destruction. Even the natal lion fire was suppressed to the point that it was like a worm under the feet of a giant dragon. It trembled and did not dare to move at all. Seeing this, Patriarch Golden Flame was in disbelief. "How is this possible? My natal lion fire is comparable to a rank 5 spirit fire. Even the myriad poison netherworld flame of that ghoulish sect master of heavenly Een Mountain is inferior to this king's natal lion fire. How can your flame be suppressed?" Tianyang smiled faintly. "The myriad poison netherworld flame is right in front of you." In the next instant, Tianyang casually punched out. The true flames of destruction suddenly soared to the extreme, crushing the flaming void-breaking claw of the golden flame ancestor and sending him flying. The true destruction flames were like maggots that latched onto Patriarch Golden Flame's huge body the moment he was sent flying. The flames burned wildly and covered Golden Flame in an instant. Patriarch Golden Flame's entire body was enveloped. Aha! The true destruction flames were a combination of the annihilation spirit fire, the purging heavenly flames, and the myriad poison netherworld flame. The purging heavenly flames were not so special other than being the fire of the sun. However, the annihilation spirit fire and the myriad poison netherworld flame were very different. The myriad poison netherworld flame gathered 10,000 poisons and could easily kill an entire city. If such a terrifying flame was used on a human body, even if one could endure the poison, it would be difficult to endure the pain brought by the poison. The annihilation spirit fire was the feeling of tearing apart one's muscles and cells bit by bit, causing one's heart to tremble. When these two were added together, it was not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. That kind of pain was enough to turn any strong-willed person into a wailing zombie. "Damn brat! I want you to die, I want you to die, ah!" Encountering such terrifying pain, Patriarch Golden Flame immediately screamed. It was true that he was a Heaven Ascension Stage 6 elite, but in terms of senses, he was no different from a mortal. In fact, because his senses were more sensitive, the pain he suffered at this moment was countless times stronger than a mortal's. Blocking his senses? He could, but before he could even think of doing so, the true destruction flames would easily burn away his rationality. Directly burn off his outer skin? The current true destruction flames were not just burning on his outer skin, they had already invaded his inner body. If he wanted to get rid of the true destruction flames, he would have to kill himself. Brat, I'll give you one more chance. Let go of Patriarch Golden Flame. The Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion Clan is an ally of the ancient shrine. Let go of Patriarch Golden Flame now, kowtow to me respectfully, and break your own limbs. If you do that, I, the Grand Elder of the ancient shrine, will spare your life. Otherwise— At this moment a furious shout came from the side. The Grand Elder of the ancient shrine walked out in a sorry state. His gaze was fixed on Tianyong, as if he was about to spit fire. Just wait for the revenge of a Heaven Ascension Stage 7 elite. I'll make you beg for death, roared the Grand Elder of the ancient shrine. Tianyong raised an eyebrow. I almost forgot that there's still a clown like you here. I was going to let this projection of yours dissipate quietly so that you wouldn't have to suffer so much. But you don't seem to appreciate it, Tianyong smiled faintly. The great void sword embryo in his hand shone, and a ray of light flashed across his eyes. He slashed with the great void sword embryo in his hand. You want me to kowtow to you? Do you deserve to break your own limbs and cultivation? Boom. With one slash, he was invincible. A terrifying pressure came from Tianyong, spreading at the speed of light. In the blink of an eye, it enveloped the entire realm of monsters. All the monsters and beasts bowed their heads. How dare you? Hearing this, the Grand Elder of the ancient shrine narrowed his eyes. He had just shouted 2 words. That beam of sword light had split his head and body apart. The entire projection turned into light dust and disappeared completely. On the other side, Patriarch Golden Flame finally couldn't bear the burning of the true destruction flames. Chapter 778. The Golden Flame Ancestor was dead. The projection of the Grand Elder of the ancient shrine and the undying Venerable of the ancient shrine had fallen. No one knew that the Golden Flame Ancestor and the Grand Elder of the ancient shrine had attacked the Nine-Tailed Fox clan because of the Blazing Lion King. No one knew that these two were unparalleled almighties who were famous in the Desolation Demon Zone, or even the entire Heaven continent. They had actually died at the hands of a young man. I didn't even use 30% of my power. Tianyong curled his lips as he glanced at the Golden Flame Ancestor, who had been instantly killed by his sword and then burned alive by his own flames. The Nine-Tailed Monster Emperor, who had just managed to catch her breath and fly into the air while the Golden Flame Ancestor was held back by Tianyong, suddenly felt her vision go dark. I know you're awesome, but it's not good to brag. 30% of his power had instantly killed the Golden Flame Ancestor and the Grand Elder of the ancient shrine? Even the Tianji Sword Emperor couldn't have done it. A kid who hadn't even stepped into the heaven-reaching realm? Who was he kidding? However, the Nine-Tailed Monster Emperor didn't know that although Tianyong's cultivation hadn't reached the heaven-reaching realm, his soul and soul had already reached the heaven-reaching realm. However, his soul and cultivation had already surpassed the heavenly completion realm by an unknown amount. As long as he had accumulated enough energy, it would not be a problem for him to pass the heavenly tribulation and become a martial saint. Of course, Tianyong was just muttering. Although he had indeed only used 30% of his power, it wasn't hard to use 30% of his power. However, using this 30% of his strength wasn't easy at all. If he were to fully unleash his soul power, even if he was invincible, he would still end up killing himself. Although the divine dragon body was strong, supporting Tianyong's soul power at the peak of the heaven-reaching realm was already the limit. If he wanted to become stronger, then the only way was to improve the divine dragon body. The divine dragon body is only the 5th refinement of the 9 refined dragon body. Although the red dragon Wu Zun himself hadn't reached the 6th refinement when he left the 9 refined dragon body behind. But I'm different from the red dragon Wu Zun. Tianyang's eyes flashed. I have divine dragon blood essence, but Crimson Dragon Wu Zun doesn't. Crimson Dragon Wu Zun's dragon race bloodline was mostly stolen. Although in the ancient times, the human race and the demon race were practically at odds with each other, and there was a lot of killing between them, it was already very good to be able to forcibly seize the dragon race's bloodline. However, in reality, it's still far inferior to my divine dragon blood essence. Furthermore, I cultivated the divine dragon body much earlier than Crimson Dragon Wu Zun. Crimson Dragon Wu Zun can break through the void and transcend the tribulation after reaching the 5th refinement, but I can't. Therefore, I must succeed in this 6th refinement, Tianyang slowly said in his heart. At this moment, the information of the 9 refined dragon body once again flowed into his mind. In the past, when he cultivated the 9 refined dragon body, he was just following the book. He followed how Crimson Dragon Wu Zun cultivated it. Although he would never make a mistake, he was still stuck in a rut. But now, Tianyang had decided to deviate from Crimson Dragon Wu Zun's path and walk his own path. Other people's martial skills were just a supplementary method, and his own was the most important. Earth Dragon Body, Flood Dragon Body, Heavenly Dragon Body, True Dragon Body, and Divine Dragon Body, I've already cultivated them to perfection. As for the 6th refinement, the 9 refined dragon body, there are only a few words and not even a name. Then, I'll call it the 6th refinement, Ancestral Dragon Body. Tianyang smiled faintly. After saying the name, countless realizations appeared in his mind, and the divine dragon's dragon core also released a dazzling brilliance. It was as if he could break through immediately. However, Tianyang was not in a hurry. The ancestral dragon body was too vague. Now, Tianyang only had a framework in his mind. If he wanted to continue cultivating it, he still needed to think carefully. Hey, kid, what are you spacing out for? Your father-in-law is about to die, and you're still spacing out. At that instant, the 9-tailed beast's grumbling voice could be heard, which interrupted Tianyang's thoughts. However, Tianyang was not annoyed. The ancestral dragon body was extremely important, and he could not make a decision easily. Thinking about it here would not be effective. However, Tianyang was too immersed in the process to notice that the 9-tailed beast had called herself the 9-tailed beast. On the other hand, the 9-tailed monster emperor looked at Heavenly Sun in shock. His expression seemed to be spacing out, but as a matter of fact, how could he not notice it? It was a sign that he had comprehended something again. Comprehension was hard to find, but it was extremely important for cultivation. If one did not comprehend it, it would be difficult to digest it no matter how much he absorbed, and it would all be in vain. However, if he had comprehended it, he would have a direction to move forward. Then, regardless of whether he had absorbed it or not, he would have a foundation to move forward. He had just experienced a great battle, and now he was having an epiphany. The 9-tailed beast's heart was filled with shock. Could this be the state of a genius? This is a grade 5 healing elixir. Although it's not as good as the life and death elixir, it's not bad. Take this elixir and let's move on. Tianyang handed over a purple elixir and said. The 9-tailed beast took the elixir and threw it into her mouth without looking at it. She quickly refined it into a pool of medicinal liquid. At the same time, she asked curiously, "Move on? Where to?" Tianyang smiled when he heard that. "Cut the grass and dig up the roots. At the Golden Flame 9-headed Lion Clan. D*MN 9-tailed Fox Clan, just you wait. When I, the Golden Flame Ancestor, return, all of you will die." A Golden Flame 9-headed lion who had revealed his true form, but had lost 7 of his heads, roared with a ferocious expression. Hearing that, the heavenly king of Z smiled faintly. He revealed his true form with his right hand and grabbed the golden flame nine-headed lion's neck. Then, he pulled it out forcefully. Splat! The eighth head was pulled out. Blood spurted out, and even the bones were pulled out. The golden flame nine-headed lion lost half of its arrogant strength. Blood spurted out of the last head, and its mountain-like body fell to the ground. Behind the heavenly king of Z, there were 7 more heads. Without exception, they were all pulled out with their hands. It died before I could finish pulling it out. How boring. Looking at the golden flame nine-headed lion that was already dead, the heavenly king of Z curled his lips. In a flash, he went to another battlefield. In other places, it was already a mess. The Golden Flame nine-headed lion clan had dominated the wasteland demon realm for thousands of years. It was true that they had a strong foundation. However, all of this required the Golden Flame nine-headed lion to unleash it. No matter how strong the Golden Flame nine-headed lion was, it would still be killed. The Golden Flame nine-headed lion alone was indeed strong. It could be said to be the strongest among all the demon clans. However, what it encountered were countless powerful clans that had defected to the Nine-Tailed Fox clan, as well as the real royal family. The Nine-Tailed Fox clan had formed a terrifying alliance army. No matter how strong the Golden Flame nine-headed lion was, it could only turn into ashes under the attack of the alliance army. Damn it! Damn it! The Golden Flame nine-headed lion clan is actually forced into such a state by a bunch of lowly clans like you. Just you wait. When the patriarch returns, all of you will die. All of you will die. A Heaven Ascension Stage 2 Golden Flame nine-headed lion roared madly in the midst of countless attacks. At this moment, a Heaven Ascension Stage 3 Golden Flame nine-headed lion suddenly charged into the crowd. The Patriarch has taken away our clan treasure, the Illusion Breaker Eye. The protective clan formation can't be activated. But that doesn't mean that I, Jin Xiong, can't kill all of you. The Golden Flame nine-headed lion roared madly. In his heart, the demon core throbbed, releasing rays of light. Seeing this, the surrounding demon clan's expressions changed drastically. Oh no! He's going to self-destruct. Hearing this, the Golden Flame nine-headed lion revealed a sinister smile. Too late. Die. Boom. Chapter 779. Boom. A terrifying explosion erupted on the battlefield. A ray of fire shot up into the sky like the world's most brilliant spark, illuminating the entire sky. Shock waves erupted from where the Golden Flame nine-headed lion was, spreading in all directions. Countless members of the demon clan looked desperate as they waited for death to come. The self-destruction of a LV-3 Heavenly Completion Realm Elite. In the area where the self-destruction took place, it was no different from an apocalyptic catastrophe. Am I going to die here? Some members of the demon clan looked desperate. To be able to kill a LV-3 Heavenly Completion Realm Elite, it was definitely a Heavenly Completion Realm Elite. A Heavenly Completion Realm Elite was enough to dominate the world and roam freely in Sky Continent. Now they were going to die here. To be able to force a LV-3 Heavenly Completion Realm Elite to self-destruct, my life is worth it. However, there were also members of the demon clan who laughed without any despair. However, because of the LV-3 Heavenly Completion Realm Golden Flame nine-headed lion's self-destruction, the entire battlefield suddenly stopped. Damn it! A LV-3 Heavenly Completion Realm Elite's self-destruction. Everyone here is going to die. Zi Tianhuang's expression changed drastically as he roared. Just as he was about to escape with his men, a terrifying aura erupted and suppressed him to the ground. Ha ha! Want to run? It's useless. It's useless. Everyone here is going to die. How dare you invade my Golden Flame nine-headed lion clan? This is the price you have to pay. The Golden Flame nine-headed lion in the center of the light laughed maniacally. In the next moment, the demon pill suddenly released a dazzling light. Die. The aura soared to the extreme, and the true self-destruction suddenly erupted. Countless members of the demon clan were in despair. Ling Yuhan also gritted her teeth, and the 9 Nether Saint body and the 9-tailed lunar fox bloodline burst out wildly. Moreover, it did not just envelop her. As long as it was strong enough, Ling Yuhan used all her strength to expand it. Boom! At this moment, the self-destruction began. Am I going to die? Some people were drowned in the light, their eyes unfocused, and their bodies went limp. On the other side, Zi Wangtian's expression had also lost hope. A heavenly completion realm elite's self-destruction is simply unstoppable. Countless people closed their eyes, waiting for death to come. However, 10 seconds had passed. Some people couldn't help but open their eyes and ask doubtfully, "What's going on? Why is the self-detonation so slow?" When these people opened their eyes, they were dumbstruck as they looked toward the center of the explosion. What is that thing?" Hearing these people's cries of surprise, countless people opened their eyes and looked over. In the end, just like the others, they were all dumbfounded with disbelief on their faces. At the center of the explosion, there was a self-detonation light that could shatter all living things within 10,000 miles. It was restricted to a small area by an invisible barrier. Furthermore, the barrier was still shrinking. Even the light from the explosion was being absorbed by the barrier. Similarly, it was rapidly shrinking. A miracle! This is a miracle! Some experts shouted crazily as tears flowed out of their eyes. They were incomparably moved. Originally, they would have died without a doubt from the self-detonation. There were very few people in the entire continent who could withstand it. However, the truth was that they managed to withstand it. As for Ling Yuhan, she stared blankly at the light. Her eyes were slightly dazed. At the center of the light, the self-detonating golden flame 9-headed lion was already stunned. Then it went crazy. How is this possible? How is this possible? How can my self-detonation be blocked? Who is it? The golden flame 9-headed lion had entered a frenzied state as it roared crazily. For this self-detonation, it had even burned its monster core. Now, its monster core was gone. The self-detonation did not explode. Of course, it's me. At this moment, a hearty laugh came from the sky. The space rippled slightly as a figure walked out from the ripples. His body was not muscular, but it was well proportioned. His face could not be said to be devastatingly handsome, but it was very delicate. The bloodstains on the side of his face that had not been wiped away added to his domineering aura. Seeing this young man, the golden flame 9-headed lion was instantly stunned. Behind the young man, a middle-aged man with a slightly pale face walked out. The moment the golden flame 9-headed lion saw this middle-aged man, it went completely crazy. Tianyang, 9-tailed monster emperor, why are you here? Shouldn't you have been killed by my ancestor and the experts from the ancient shrine? Why are you here to stop my self-detonation? Impossible! Impossible! The golden flame 9-headed lion roared crazily. However, hearing this, Tianyang only smiled faintly. Since when did you have the misconception that the golden flame ancestor and the guys from the ancient shrine could get rid of me? In the next moment, Tianyang spread out his hands. He slowly clenched his right hand. The self-detonation energy in the barrier also shrank as Tianyang clenched his right hand. Seeing this, the golden flame 9-headed lion trembled. No matter how Tianyang and the golden flame 9-headed lion survived the attack of the golden flame ancestor and the 2 experts from the ancient shrine, now the one who could control its life was Tianyang. No. Don't kill me. I can serve you as my master and sign a master-servant contract. A living golden flame 9-headed lion is much more valuable than a dead one. If you kill me, you'll get nothing. But if I become your servant, I can be your fighter. The golden flame 9-headed lion begged for mercy. Hearing this, Tianyang smiled disdainfully. I'm not interested in a guy who can instantly ask to be the servant of the person he mocked. Not just living ones. I'm not interested in dead ones either. I already have enough lion meat. Tianyang smiled warmly and then clenched his right hand into a fist. Boom. The self-detonation energy around the golden flame nine-headed lion was compressed to the extreme and exploded inside its body. The golden flame nine-headed lion, who had an extremely high status in the golden flame nine-headed lion clan, was turned into ashes by his own power. He's dead? Tianyang stared blankly at the golden flame nine-headed lion, who had just self-detonated 2 minutes ago and caused countless experts to despair. Now, it had turned into light without leaving any ashes behind. He felt that this was unreal. That was the elder of the golden flame nine-headed lion clan. They had tried their best but could only hold him back. Yet, he was killed by Tianyang so easily? However, Tianyang was the future crown prince after all. Naturally, he could not be in a daze in such a situation. Tianyang came back to his senses and purple light shot out from his hand. The elder of the golden flame nine-headed lion is dead. Nine-tailed fox clan. At this moment, Tianyang raised his eyebrows. Don't move. Let them retreat. Tianyang did not understand. However, he could only do as he was told. Retreat. Countless nine-tailed fox clan soldiers were stunned. However, due to Tianyang and the nine-tailed monster royal's authority, they could only retreat. However, the nine-tailed monster royal did not understand and was about to ask. A ball of black flame burned in Tianyang's hand. He tossed it lightly and it landed on the ground. Seeing this, the nine-tailed monster royal's expression changed drastically and she retreated several steps. At this moment, Tianyang smiled softly as he watched the nine-tailed fox clan soldiers retreat, leaving only the golden flame nine-headed lion clan's mountain range. He spat out a word. Burn. Countless true flames of destruction burned. Chapter 780. Big Fire Burning the Mountain. Looking at the entire mountain range, which had been reduced to a raging field of destruction, the nine-tailed demon emperor felt her heart tremble. Only these 4 words echoed in her mind. In the mortal world, big fire was used to kill the monsters in the mountains. And today, a rare Heaven's Chosen used the same method to deal with the demonic beast clan. However, this clan was the most powerful and terrifying among the demon clans, the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion clan. After today, there will be no more Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion in the demon realm. The nine-tailed demon emperor's expression was complicated. Looking at the raging true flames of destruction and the countless golden flame nine-headed lions that had died in the mountains, she muttered to herself. Although the golden flame nine-headed lion clan was her enemy, now that the golden flame nine-headed lion clan had been wiped out, she also felt a little sad. With such a prodigy in the human clan, why would they worry about not prospering? Fortunately, unlike the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion clan, although the Nine-Tailed Fox clan had some friction with Tianyang, most of it had been resolved, and the daughter of the Nine-Tailed Demon Emperor had a slight relationship with Tianyang. With this relationship, the Nine-Tailed Demon Emperor felt that Tianyang would not be so heartless. Well, most of them should be dead now. At this moment, Tianyang suddenly said. A black flame burned in his hand and the countless flames in the mountains disappeared, all returning to Tianyang's body. You guys go in and search. If there are any left, collect the heads yourselves. I'll go back first. Tianyang said lightly. In this battle, he had consumed too much and gained too much. If he did not go back and absorb it, he was afraid that he would waste such a good opportunity. Therefore, after leaving a sentence, Tianyang used the void-stepping secret technique and quickly left, leaving the nine-tailed demon emperor alone. Before leaving, he did not forget to call Ling Yuhan. Seeing Ling Yuhan hurriedly follow, the nine-tailed demon emperor smiled bitterly and could only stay in place to preside over the overall situation. It was true that a grown daughter could not be kept. Ah, no, it seemed that this daughter had never been kept. After devouring the demonic energy of the blood demon king Sumo and the demonic energy from other places, it has long reached the conditions for the evolution of the heavenly sword. However, due to various reasons, I haven't been able to break through. Now I've devoured the ancient shrine's undying venerable's life vine, as well as ancestor golden flames. The sky firmament sword's evolution can no longer be suppressed. Tianyang muttered to himself as he landed on the nine-tailed sacred mountain, sensing the unusual movements of the skycloud's sword in his soul sea. As early as when he killed the blood demon King Sumo, the heavenly sword already had the potential to evolve. However, many things happened afterward, and he had no time to take care of it, so the heavenly sword was suppressed. After that, Lin Fan killed many experts one after another. Although he did not pay much attention to absorbing the devouring martial spirit's power. However, he had also absorbed quite a bit. Now, after devouring Reverend Undying and Patriarch Golden Flame from the ancient shrine, his strength had finally reached its peak. After finding a place for seclusion and instructing Ling Yuhan to look after it, Tianyang did not care about anything else and directly activated the heavenly sword to begin its evolution. On this day, the nine-colored Xinguang, which had disappeared from this world for more than a year, had reappeared. Countless experts once again recalled the humiliation of being suppressed by the sudden appearance of the nine-colored Xinguang a year ago, or even 5 years ago, and being forced to kneel on the ground. Nine-colored divine light was released from Tianyang's body. A terrifying aura that could make the heavens and earth tremble and all Daos submit was released from Tianyang's body. Tianyang closed his eyes tightly, and the nine-colored Xinguang in his hand turned into the heavenly sword. Between heaven and earth, there seemed to be a tyrannical aura that poured into the heavenly sword. In the past, Tianyang's soul power was insufficient, and could only see the nine-colored Xinguang turning into the heavenly sword at most. Now, Tianyang's martial spirit power had surpassed the upper limit of this world and reached the realm of Wu Zun. The evolution of the heavenly sword also became clearer. Heaven and earth, mountains and rivers, sun and moon, stars. Countless energies that belonged to this world separated a trace of the origin energy and gathered into a trace of the nine-colored Xinguang. Countless nine-colored Xinguang turned into the supreme nine-colored Xinguang pillar and poured into the heavenly sword. The heavenly sword erupted with its own aura that suppressed the entire world. The heavenly energy, this is the heavenly energy. At this moment, Tianyang finally discovered the secret of the heavenly sword's evolution. There was nothing special about it. It was simply the ultimate magnification of the heaven-devouring secret skill. It absorbed the energy of mountains and rivers, heaven and earth, even the sun and moon, stars, and even the great Tao of heaven and earth. What is so special about the heavenly sword? It can absorb the energy of heaven and earth for its own use. Tianyang was shocked. At this moment, the heavenly sword finally released the nine-colored Xinguang that had once made countless experts in this world tremble. Boom! A beam of light shot into the sky and turned into the nine-colored Xinguang that covered the entire world. The terrifying aura was also released. First, it was the barren monster region. F***CK. The nine-tailed monster emperor was the first to give in. She fell to the ground with her hands and feet stuck into the soil. She was in a sorry state. However, a large group of nine-tailed foxes, who were looting treasures around her, had already knelt down with a shocked look on their faces. It's happening again. I already felt it when it erupted in the central region. This time, it's even stronger than it was in the central region. The nine-tailed monster emperor roared in her heart. Who is it? Even if the ancient shrine of God's people were multiplied by 10, they still wouldn't be able to do this. 10,000 miles away. The clan leader of the howling nine-headed hounds, who was on his way to the nine-tailed sacred mountain, could not help but kneel down. Behind him, a large group of nine-tailed foxes also knelt down like the nine-tailed monster emperor. What happened? The clan leader of the Howling Nine-Headed Hounds, who was in Heaven Ascension Stage Level 3, gritted his teeth and forced himself to stand up. However, he immediately knelt back down and could only squeeze out a few words. More than a year ago, when the nine-colored Xinguang of the central region erupted, he was there. At that time, he was still at home and was forced to kneel down. And that person had even rolled to the ground and knelt down. The clan leader of the Howling Nine-Headed Hounds was still traumatized by this incident. He did not expect to encounter it again. Behind him, King Qi Yao also knelt down. Apart from shock, he also looked pensive. This fluctuation seemed familiar? Almost everyone in the barren monster region had knelt down. Naturally, the territories adjacent to the barren monster region could not withstand it. Central region. Here comes another pair of eyes. Am I, Prime Qi Yao, so unwelcome? I have to kneel every time. Central region, Scarlet Flame sect. As the entire sect knelt down, a roar of grief and indignation erupted from the center of the Scarlet Flame sect. Nine Heavens Palace, Western Region Buddhist sect, Sun Moon sect. This time, the fluctuation of the Skycloud Sword's evolution was much stronger than before. Last time, as long as it was far away, it would be fine. This time, as long as it was within 500 million miles of Tianyang. Those with true origin in their bodies. Chapter 781. All the cultivators from all over the world knelt down in the direction of Tianyang. Even the top LV4 or LV5 Heaven Ascension Realm experts and the lords of the Holy Lands couldn't help but tremble. They knelt down as well. Damn it! What the hell is going on? 50 million miles away from Tianyang. In a mystery realm. The Grand Elder of the ancient shrine was horrified. He channeled his vital core and forcibly supported his body. However, he clenched his teeth so hard that they almost broke. The muscles in his jaw had already stiffened. He was completely relying on his LV7 Heaven Ascension Realm cultivation to support himself. Otherwise, he, one of the strongest cultivators in the Heaven continent, would have knelt down on the ground. I heard from the other elders that a powerful pressure descended a year ago and made countless experts bow down in worship. I didn't believe it. Now I believe it. The Grand Elder of the ancient shrine gnashed his teeth. He wouldn't have done anything if other people had knelt down. However, he was one of the people who had to kneel down today. This made the Grand Elder of the ancient shrine extremely angry. His hatred for that unknown expert rose to the heavens. Just you wait. Once I get the treasures in this secret realm, you can just wait for your death. The Grand Elder of the ancient shrine roared. At this moment, the Skycloud Sword had finally reached a breakthrough point. Breakthrough. Medial Heaven rank Martial Soul. Boom. The Grand Elder of the ancient shrine couldn't resist the sudden surge of pressure and knelt down uncontrollably. The Grand Elder of the ancient shrine's face was extremely gloomy. Damn it! Tianyang didn't know what was happening elsewhere. To be precise, he didn't even realize that the Skycloud Sword's evolution would cause such a commotion. The martial soul power and demon chi that it absorbed have all erupted today. This breakthrough can't be underestimated. I just don't know how high it can go this time. Peak of the medial heaven rank? High heaven rank? Tianyang felt a surge of excitement in his heart. If the heavenly sword could break through to a superior grade heaven-ranked martial spirit, perhaps he could even use this opportunity to transcend the tribulation of heaven ascension in one fell swoop. Countless rainbow-colored Xinguang gathered, and the power of the world poured into the Skycloud Sword. The impurities within the Skycloud Sword turned into colorless smoke, drifting away with the wind. As for the heavenly sword, it began to glow with vibrant colors as it released a surging pressure. In the end, a 9-colored beam of light was fired into the sky, dyeing the sky above the desolated demon realm with 9 colors. In the desolate demonic realm, countless demonic beasts looked up at the sky and stared at the 9-colored Xinguang, their hearts filled with shock. The moment the 9-colored Xinguang appeared, the pressure on their bodies melted like snow. Countless demonic beasts looked up at the 9-colored Xinguang in the sky and felt a powerful aura. They were in a daze. Some demonic beasts even comprehended the power of the world from the 9-colored Xinguang and were immediately enlightened. They sat down with their legs crossed, and when they stood up again, they had already broken through to the next level. Some demonic beasts, who were only 2 or 3 years old and had yet to gain intelligence, turned into stone statues when they comprehended the 9-colored Xinguang, causing their parents to turn pale with fright. However, after a few seconds, the stone statues cracked, and the demonic beasts inside had already refined a set of genius bones. Similar situations were happening in the desolate demonic realm at this moment. What's going on? Could it be that the heavens have seen how difficult it is for the demonic beasts to grow and have finally bestowed kindness upon us? The 9-tailed demonic beast king was extremely shocked. Even he found some enlightenment in the 9-colored Xinguang. What the hell is going on? His injuries were all healed. However, just as he was about to sit down with his legs crossed to comprehend the 9-colored Xinguang, the 9-colored Xinguang suddenly disappeared. The 9-tailed demonic beast king was left stunned, peak middle grade heaven rank martial soul. The 9-colored Xinguang retreated because the heavenly sword's breakthrough had been completed. Tianyang held the heavenly sword in his hand, which had returned to its original appearance but had a stronger aura. His heart was pounding. Now, the heavenly sword had become the legendary peak middle grade heaven rank martial soul. For example, the undying reverend of the ancient god shrine, who possessed the low-grade heaven-rank martial soul, the vine of life, was already shocking enough. Even the first elder of the ancient god shrine was jealous of him. However, he had destroyed the undying reverend's low-grade heaven-rank martial soul and reached the peak middle-grade heaven rank. Moreover, as long as it devoured enough demonic chi and martial soul, the peak middle-grade heaven-rank martial soul was far from the limit of the heavenly sword. The heavenly sword could devour martial souls, and was the nemesis of thousands of martial souls. Now, the heavenly sword's grade had far surpassed most martial souls. Tianyang was sure that if he encountered a vine of life martial soul similar to the undying reverend's, he would only need 3 strikes. He would be able to completely destroy the vine of life. Although it has not reached the upper heaven rank, it is enough. Tianyang smiled with satisfaction. At this moment, in the depths of the heavenly sword, streams of extremely pure 9-colored Xinguang rushed into Tianyang's body and cleansed Tianyang's body. Tianyang had experienced many battles and the injuries caused by them were instantly healed. The slight instability in his foundation caused by Tianyang's rapid breakthroughs was also made up for. At the same time, the true essence that had been refined to the extreme by the divine desolate heavenly spirit art also solidified with the infusion of the 9-colored Xinguang. Tianyang's physical strength also skyrocketed. Although his cultivation was still at the peak of the half-step heaven ascension realm. But now, Tianyang's battle strength was at least 2 or 3 times stronger than before. This 9-colored Xinguang is indeed extraordinary. I just don't know its origin. Tianyang chuckled. With a flash of light in his hand, the heavenly sword returned to his body. In the past, the evolution of the heavenly sword was to temper the soul. It allowed Tianyang to increase his soul power many times before reaching the peak of the heaven ascension realm and purify his soul origin. If not for this, even if Tianyang comprehended more incomplete Saint Daos such as the Tao of life and death, it would be impossible for him to forge the soul of the Wu Zun realm. Now, the evolution of the heavenly sword was to temper the true essence and physical body. The help it brought to Tianyang was no less than tempering the soul. Tianyang smiled faintly and the great void sword embryo appeared in his hand. He concealed his spirit and chi and with a flash, he arrived in front of an incomparably tall mountain. True essence slowly condensed. The great void sword embryo in his hand flashed and he struck out. The towering mountain collapsed in an instant. Previously, I had to use all my strength to deal with an undying reverend. Now I. Chapter 782. The sudden collapse of a huge mountain naturally attracted the attention of countless people in the nine-tailed sacred mountain. Although Tianyang had chosen a barren mountain range thousands of miles away from the nine-tailed sacred mountain, it still touched the sensitive nerves of the nine-tailed fox clan. The nine-tailed sacred mountain had already experienced a clan extermination war. Although they were the victors, they had also suffered great losses. If another strong enemy arrived, the nine-tailed sacred mountain would probably be finished. Before Tianyang could restore the huge mountain to its original state, countless people suddenly flew in from the direction of the nine-tailed sacred mountain. Among them, the leader was Ling Yuhan. "Master." Ling Yuhan looked at Tianyang, a little stunned. "Weren't you in seclusion?" Hearing that, Tianyang was also stunned. Seclusion. In his impression, although he had found a place to cultivate as soon as he arrived at the nine-tailed sacred mountain, there was no need to describe it as seclusion. Yes, after the battle with the Golden Flame nine-headed lion clan, you immediately returned to the nine-tailed sacred mountain to cultivate in seclusion. It has been a month. We thought you were planning to break through to the next realm. We didn't expect you to come out now. Ling Yuhan explained. Hearing that, Tianyang was suddenly speechless. In his impression, it had only been a few hours at most, but in Ling Yuhan's eyes it had been a month? It was true that time did not exist in cultivation. However, Ling Yuhan did not think of what Tianyang was thinking. Instead, she recalled the previous situation. For the past month, she had obeyed Tianyang's orders and stayed at the entrance of the palace where Tianyang was cultivating in seclusion. Even when Tianyang's heavenly sword evolved and released the terrifying pressure, Ling Yuhan forcibly activated her 9 Nether Saint body and 9-tailed lunar fox bloodline power to withstand it. She paid close attention to the place where Tianyang was cultivating in seclusion, almost all of her attention. In the end, when Tianyang came out, he was already 1,000 miles away, yet he didn't even notice anything. It was only after Tianyang destroyed a barren mountain that he discovered it. Ling Yuhan was shocked. Although it was difficult to find Tianyang when he left, she could still figure out a thing or two based on her familiarity with Tianyang. Now, Tianyang had moved behind a wall, and he hadn't noticed at all. Master's strength has improved again, Ling Yuhan muttered in her heart. At this time, Tianyang had already circulated his true essence, and gathered all the mountain rocks together, forming a huge mountain that was exactly the same as before. I didn't expect to cause such a big commotion. I'm sorry, Tianyang said with a smile. Hearing that, the 9-tailed fox clan guards behind Ling Yuhan shook their heads. The person in front of them was the savior of the 9-tailed fox clan. How could they dare to accept Tianyang's apology? By the way, Master, the 9-tailed demon emperor said that if Master comes out of seclusion, he should invite you to the 9-tailed demon emperor's place. Ling Yuhan seemed to have thought of something and said. Hearing that, Tianyang raised his eyebrows. The 9-tailed demon emperor invited me? Okay, I got it. Then, he stepped into the void, took a step, and his figure disappeared between heaven and earth. Ling Yuhan looked at Tianyang's back as he disappeared into the distance, somewhat lost in thought. She thought that after awakening the 9-tailed moon fox bloodline and the 9 nether sacred body, she should be much closer to Tianyang. Why did she look at it now? Not only did the distance not decrease, but it increased instead? 9-tailed sacred mountain, 9-tailed sacred palace. Tianyang could sense that the 9-tailed demon emperor was in the 9-tailed sacred palace. However, what puzzled him was that other than the 9-tailed demon emperor's aura, there were a few other auras in the 9-tailed sacred palace. Although they were weak, they were still powerful auras that could not be underestimated. What was going on? Was the 9-tailed demon emperor kidnapped? Tianyang muttered to himself. Then, he slowly landed in front of the 9-tailed sacred palace. The 2 Sea of Soul Realm guards at the entrance of the nine-tailed sacred palace saw him, and their eyes lit up. They said, "Master Tianyang, Her Majesty the Demon Emperor, has been waiting in the sacred palace for a long time." Tianyang nodded indifferently and took a few steps into the nine-tailed sacred palace. "Crimson Demon Hound Emperor, no matter what, you're still a clan leader second only to the nine-tailed fox clan. Now you're bowing to a human. No matter what, it's a little too much. Nine-tailed Demon Emperor, don't try to sow discord here. Everyone knows that you're up to no good. Dark Python Emperor, am I right?" You're right. This nine-tailed Demon Emperor is clearly trying to sow discord between me and Master Tianyang. Master Tianyang is the protector of our demon region. How can he be monopolized by the nine-tailed fox clan? Isn't he just a human? If it were up to me, we'd just treat him according to the etiquette of a clan leader. Why do we need so many people? Voices came out from the nine-tailed sacred palace. Hearing this, Tianyang was confused. This nine-tailed sacred palace was the sacred palace of the nine-tailed fox clan. Why did it sound like there were other clan leaders here? All right. Now that the main character hasn't arrived yet, you guys are already arguing here. Don't say anything when Zepatian takes advantage of you. A young voice rang out. In the next moment, the noisy nine-tailed sacred palace quietened down. As for Tianyang, he pushed open the door to the inner palace and walked in. Who is it? Don't you know you have to knock before entering? At this moment, a middle-aged man in a red robe with a chiseled face turned around and said angrily. They were all clan leaders of the demon clan. If they were seen quarreling like they were in a market, they would be greatly embarrassed. However, the first person to speak did not receive any support from anyone else. Apart from the nine-tailed demon emperor, everyone else looked as if they had seen a ghost. They looked at the young man who pushed open the door and walked in. That's a man in a green robe was shocked. His face was pale. Although Tianyang's soul power was far superior to everyone present, his aura was not obvious. However, the terrifying murderous aura that had been forged from slaughtering countless powerhouses vaguely formed a domain of force. It was this force. It made all the Ascension Realm powerhouses present fall silent. His aura was not obvious, just like a mortal, but he could silence the entire nine-tailed sacred palace. "Looks like I'm not welcome here," Tianyang said with a chuckle. That's. Only then did the middle-aged man notice the strange silence around him. When he took a closer look and saw Tianyang's face clearly, his expression changed abruptly. That force was practically about to break through his mind. Then, the middle-aged man in a red robe stood up abruptly. The surrounding clan leaders of the demon clan also became nervous. Could it be that the Dog Emperor was embarrassed and wanted to fight in the nine-tailed sacred palace? The middle-aged man in a red robe walked up to Tianyang. Under the nervous gazes of countless clan leaders, he rolled up his sleeves and knelt on one knee. Chapter 783. I'm the leader of the sky-roaring nine-headed hound clan, the Crimson Demon Hound Emperor. Greetings, Lord Demon. The red-robed man knelt on one knee and said loudly. Seeing this, countless monster clan leaders who were either worried, mocking, or waiting to watch a good show were all taken aback. In terms of cultivation strength, only the nine-tailed demon emperor could suppress the red-robed man. As for the others, even if they were the strongest, they could only gain a slight advantage. Among the demon race, they were undoubtedly one of the strongest. However, one of the strongest had knelt in front of a young human. Even if the young man's aura was terrifying, it shouldn't be this bad. Crimson Demon Hound Emperor. What are you doing? At this moment, an angry roar came from behind. A man was furious as he looked at the Crimson Demon Hound Emperor. I thought you were a Heaven Ascension State elite, one of the strongest among the demon clan. You have your own pride, but you're kneeling in front of a young human who hasn't even reached the Heaven Ascension State. The Ironcliff Tiger Clan is ashamed to be associated with you. The man roared angrily. At this moment, Tianyang finally had the chance to size up the people in the nine-tailed sacred palace. The first seat was naturally his disciple's father, the current demon emperor of the demon clan, the nine-tailed demon emperor Patian. Next to him were the two lower seats, one on the left and one on the right. The first seat on the left was empty, so it must have been the Crimson Demon Hound Emperor. The man who stood up was one level below the first seat on the right. His status wasn't low either. Crimson Demon Hound Emperor, the Ironcliff Tiger Clan needs an explanation, the man said angrily. His strong body trembled, not out of fear, but out of anger. As a member of the Demon Clan, he had the pride of the Demon Clan. He couldn't accept that the Crimson Demon Hound Emperor, a Demon Clan elite, was treating a young human like that. The Crimson Demon Hound Emperor's face darkened. Was this idiot really that idiot, or was he so ill-informed that he could break through the sky? When Tianyang arrived at the desolate demon region, he first killed Golden Flame, then the violent Flame Lion King, then the two experts of the ancient shrine and the Golden Flame Ancestor, and finally the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion Clan. No matter which one of these four battle achievements was brought out, it was enough to make the desolate demon realm and even the entire world tremble. Not to mention, all four of these things had happened to one person. If one used their brains to think about it, they would understand that in the face of such a person, surrendering or running away was the only choice. Was this Ironcliff Tiger guy crazy? Why would he want to face the Tianyang head-on? I'm curious too. How did I become your demon venerate without doing anything? Tianyang chuckled as he stared straight at the nine-tailed monarch beast. He had never heard of this martial highness before. It was most likely something that the nine-tailed martial dominator beast had invented herself. Although this name sounded domineering, Tianyang didn't like the fact that he had just found out about it and he had already gotten himself into trouble. The title of Martial Highness was decided upon by the most powerful members of the Demon Clan. The nine-tailed monarch beast saw Tianyang's expression and hurriedly explained. At this moment, the leader of the Ironcliff Tiger Clan spoke again, rudely interrupting the nine-tailed monarch beast. A Martial Highness is the most respected member of the Demon Clan. Even the Demon Emperor doesn't dare to call himself a Martial Highness. How can a human like you be called a Martial Highness? A Martial Highness must have great strength, but you don't. The man snorted. His tone was full of disdain. As the leader of a top demon clan, he naturally couldn't be so well informed that he didn't even know what Tianyang had done. However, among the four things that Tianyang had done, the man only believed the first one. In fact, he didn't even believe the first one. How could a young human do something that they, who had lived for thousands of years, couldn't do? Strength? Hearing that, Tianyang raised his eyebrows slightly. As long as I have the strength, I can be your Martial Highness? Of course not. However, strength is the first step to becoming a Martial Highness. The man sneered. Don't tell me you took the Crimson Demon Hound Emperor's words seriously? Hearing that, the Crimson Demon Hound Emperor, who had just stood up, turned pale. Why did you drag me into your fight with Tianyang? If you want to become a Martial Highness, at the very least, you have to defeat me, the man said arrogantly. Hearing that, Tianyang's expression didn't change. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Oh, as long as I defeat you, I'll become a Martial Highness? Hearing that, the man nodded. Although that's not the case with so many leaders supporting you, as long as you have the strength, the position of a Martial Highness is negotiable. If that's the case, why didn't you say so earlier? Tianyang smiled. Streams of dragon power gathered in his hands and formed into giant dragons. In the blink of an eye, he threw them out. Dragon King Divine Fist, 10,000 dragons slaughtering gods. Roar. Countless giant dragons roared ferociously, releasing streams of terrifying dragon power. In the next second, countless giant dragons appeared in front of the man. So fast. However, block it for me. Low-grade heaven-class martial technique, rock defense whirlpool shield. The man roared, and the demonic power in his body surged out rapidly. The earthy yellow demonic power mixed with metallic silver-white demonic power gathered in front of his hands like a whirlpool. In the next moment, a giant shield that seemed to be made of gold and iron blocked in front of the man. Seeing that, some leaders couldn't help but exclaim, "It's been 3 years, and the Iron Cliff Tiger's rock defense whirlpool shield has become stronger. Even a real Heaven Ascension Stage LV6 wouldn't be able to break through such a defense." He actually used such a top-notch defense in front of a junior. TSK. However, the current Iron Cliff Tiger leader is invincible. Hearing that, Tianyang's eyes narrowed slightly. A defense that even a Heaven Ascension Stage LV6 couldn't break? Then, he would create an attack stronger than a Heaven Ascension Stage LV6. Martial Soul Talent, Devour the Heavens. Following the evolution of the Sky Sword, the usage time of the Devour secret technique had been shortened by a lot, except for the complete version that completely absorbed the power of heaven and earth. Tianyang had also developed the Devour secret technique, which could unleash the strongest attack in a short period of time. At this moment, endless power of heaven and earth flowed into Tianyang's body. Tianyang's aura instantly soared to the peak of Heaven Ascension Stage LV2. The man's pupils shrank. He had just uttered a word when the rock defense whirlpool shield, which was known as the strongest defense in the wasteland demon realm, was blasted apart by the countless giant dragons. Even the man himself was blasted into the wall of the nine-tailed sacred palace, spitting out a large mouthful of blood. Countless leaders of the demon clan were dumbfounded as they stared at the man who was embedded in the wall in a daze. Then, they quickly reacted and shouted in an extremely respectful tone. They all knelt down on one knee. Chapter 784. The patriarchs of the Howling Nine-Headed Hounds, the Nether Pythons, the Bone Soul Lions, and the Sky Trampling Wolves, countless famous patriarchs and Heaven Ascension Realm powerhouses in the wasteland were kneeling on one knee in front of Tianyang to show their allegiance. If news of this spread, the entire wasteland would be in an uproar even greater than the annihilation of the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion clan. In fact, the entire continent would be shaken by this. Even the nine-tailed monster emperor bowed to show her respect for the demon venerable. However, no. Although you're powerful, you're a human. How can a human be the demon venerable of the demon clan? The patriarch of the Iron Cliff Tiger clan, who had been sent flying and vomited blood, suddenly crawled out and roared. Hearing this, everyone stood up and frowned slightly. This guy didn't know what was good for him, however. They were also a little conflicted about letting a human be the demon venerable of the demon clan. If not for the nine-tailed monster emperor, they wouldn't have come no matter how powerful Tianyang was. Currently, the demon clan's greatest enemy was the human race. It was more or less strange to let a human be the demon venerable. However, Tianyang's lips curled up slightly when he heard this. Although I don't know why you're working so hard to let me be the demon venerable of the demon clan, in terms of the demon clan's bloodline, Tianyang chuckled. At this moment, in his heart, gorgeous dragon patterns lit up one after another on the divine dragon's dragon core. The powerful divine dragon's blood essence also slowly released its aura. That aura instantly filled the entire nine-tailed sacred hall. Roar! A loud dragon roar sounded. The sound waves were like thunder roaring from the nine heavens. It penetrated the nine-tailed sacred hall and reverberated throughout the entire nine-tailed sacred mountain. The divine dragon's aura, which was so pure that even a dragon king couldn't compare to, pressed down on the patriarch of the Iron Cliff Tiger clan. He couldn't help but vomit another mouthful of blood. His face paled for a moment, but the Iron Cliff Tiger tribe's patriarch didn't care about this. His pupils dilated to the extreme as he stared fixedly at Tianyang. his expression as though he had seen a ghost. You, how can you have such a powerful dragon bloodline? The patriarch of the Ironcliff Tiger clan cried out. In ancient times, the Dragon clan was also part of the Demon clan. Tianyang's dragon bloodline could be considered as a demon bloodline. Moreover, it was the bloodline of the Demon clan, the demon bloodline, the Demon clan's bloodline. Now, Tianyang had displayed a divine dragon bloodline that far surpassed the ordinary dragon race bloodline. Naturally, his divine dragon bloodline was one level above the fiend race bloodline. If one were to say that Tianyang wasn't fit to be a monster venerate, then that would be the case. Demon clans, then demon dragon, of the dragon king dragon, of the demon to demon, of the demons demon. Of course of Lin of demon great of. What the hell is this demon sovereign? I don't believe that such a great title would be given to me just because I annihilated the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion clan. Tianyang said calmly. Everyone in the world came for benefits, and the world bustled about for benefit. Tianyang did not believe that these old masters of the Demon clan would be so bored as to give him, a human, the title of Demon Lord. The nine-tailed monster emperor was a little embarrassed after being exposed by Tianyang. However, the tribe leader of the Sky-Stepping Wolf clan, who looked like a teenager, pursed his lips. It's not a big deal to give him the position of Demon Emperor just to get rid of a malignant tumor that snatches things but doesn't do anything. Tianyang was slightly taken aback. The Crimson Demon Dog Emperor beside him smiled and said, "This is the clan leader of the Sky-Trampling Wolf clan. Don't be fooled by his youthful appearance. He's already 1,800 years old. He's at LV3 reaching Heaven Realm. He's not weak, but he's nothing in front of the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion clan." The Crimson Demon Dog Emperor explained, "The Sky-Trampling Wolf clan's territory borders the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion clan. Therefore, the Sky-Trampling Wolf clan is in a bad situation in front of the powerful Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion clan. Since you annihilated the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion clan, the Nine-Tailed Monster Emperor wants to nominate you as the Demon Sovereign. This guy is the most supportive one. He can't wait to wave the flag and cheer." The Crimson Demon Dog Emperor smiled. However, the teenager immediately shot a cold look at him. "Crimson Demon Dog Emperor, no one will think that you're mute if you don't speak." The Crimson Demon Dog Emperor was speechless. Hearing that, Tianyang immediately understood. It turned out that the Crimson Demon Dog clan had been oppressed by the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion clan for a long time. No wonder it was so resentful towards the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion clan. He had annihilated a royal family of the Demon clan and had indirectly helped another Demon clan? Alright, let's cut to the chase. At this moment, the Nine-Tailed Monster Emperor coughed and said, "Since you've already said it, let's get straight to the point too. The reason why you're the Demon Sovereign is because 3 months later at the tomb of the Dragon King," the Nine-Tailed Monster Emperor said seriously. Hearing that, the other clan leaders, including the clan leader of the Iron Cliff Tiger clan who was still on the wall, became extremely serious. The tomb of the Dragon King is the Emperor's tomb of the Dragon clan. It gathers the treasures of the continent from an era. Although it has been opened many times, it still contains countless treasures. As one of the most powerful clans in the world, the Demon clan also has a quota to enter the tomb of the Dragon King, the Nine-Tailed Monster Emperor said. Hearing that, Tianyang nodded slightly. The Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion clan has never contributed to the Demon clan. Coincidentally, you've annihilated the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion clan. The Nine-Tailed Fox clan has suffered heavy losses and needs to recuperate. The other clans are too weak. Even the strongest Crimson Demon Dog Emperor can't fight against a Saint Lord of the human clan. So, the Nine-Tailed Monster Emperor said. At that moment, countless people looked over. In their eyes, there was a flash of solemnity, seriousness, expectation, envy, and dissatisfaction. Hearing that, Tianyang smiled slightly. So, the demon clan needs someone who is strong enough to fight on our behalf. In order to represent the demon clan, the demon sovereign position must be given to that person, the nine-tailed monster emperor said. Hearing that, Tianyang also smiled. So, I have to go to the most dangerous tomb in the world for an undeserved reputation? Hearing that, the clan leaders' faces changed. The nine-tailed monster emperor's face darkened slightly. As long as you agree, other than what the demon clan needs, you can take any treasure in the tomb of the Dragon King as you wish. Moreover, the demon clan's Dragon Emperor token can be given to you, the nine-tailed monster emperor said. Hearing that, Tianyang shook his head. A golden light flashed in his hand, and a very familiar golden token appeared in the eyes of the nine-tailed monster emperor and the others. Tianyang's subtle voice sounded. Chapter 785. It was a palm-sized golden token that was shining with a dazzling golden light and contained a hint of the dragon tribe's aura. It was glowing in Tianyang's hand. Seeing this, the leaders of the monster tribe, who had countless excuses, were dumbfounded. Dragon Emperor's token? Where did you get the Dragon Emperor's token? The nine-tailed monster queen was shocked. Even though they were from the monster tribe, one of the strongest tribes in the world, they only had one Dragon Emperor's token. A Dragon Emperor's token could only bring one person into the Dragon Emperor's tomb. Otherwise, the Dragon Emperor's tomb would have been overcrowded. The Dragon tribe was not stupid. They would never allow such a thing to happen. Due to the Dragon Emperor's tomb and the Dragon tribe's intentional control, there were very few Dragon Emperor's tokens. The nine-tailed monster queen thought that she was already cutting off her own flesh by offering the Dragon Emperor's token as an exchange. In the end, Tianyang also had one. I helped the Dragon tribe solve a small matter. The Dragon King liked me, so he gave me one, Tianyang said casually. Hearing this, the leaders of the monster tribe felt like they had been fooled. A small matter? If they could get the Dragon Emperor's token for a small matter, they might as well sweep the floor of the East Sea Dragon Palace every day. However, the leader of the Iron Cliff Tiger tribe seemed to have thought of something. His eyes widened and he said in shock, "A few days ago, there was a rebellion of the Black Dragon tribe in the East Sea Dragon Palace. It was said that a mysterious expert solved it." "That person is you?" the leader of the Iron Cliff Tiger tribe said in disbelief. Hearing this, everyone around was stunned. Their hearts were in turmoil. They had also heard about the rebellion that happened in the East Sea Dragon Palace a few months ago. The Black Dragon tribe had been preparing for many years. They had hollowed out the interior of the East Sea Dragon Palace and even restrained the Dragon King. It could be said that everything was ready. They did not need any help to succeed. However, a mysterious expert suddenly appeared. He killed countless experts of the Black Dragon tribe, including the leader of the Black Dragon tribe, Haiming, and Queen Long Xinyan. He single-handedly solved the rebellion of the Dragon tribe. When the news spread, countless people wanted to find the mysterious man who had killed countless experts single-handedly. Unfortunately, the East Sea Dragon Palace's security measures were too good. Even though a long time had passed, those people still didn't have a clue. Many people from the Demon Clan were among them. At that time, they needed an expert to go to the Dragon King's tomb on their behalf. After all, the nine-tailed monster queen. They could not easily go missing. After searching for so long to no avail, he finally saw her a few days after a few months. He had searched for her hundreds and thousands of times in the crowd, but when he turned back, that person was still there, in the dim light of the lanterns. What? He is Dragon Emperor's token? The big shots of the Demon Clan, including the nine-tailed Demon Emperor, were all shocked. When Tianyang went to the East Sea Dragon Palace, it was after Ling Yuhan was taken away. Even Ling Yuhan did not know. The nine-tailed monster emperor naturally had no way of knowing. When the truth came out today, it was naturally a great shock. However, after knowing the truth, the Dragon Emperor of Dragon Emperor was in a dilemma. Tianyang already had the Dragon Emperor's token. Therefore, the Dragon Emperor's token was not attractive to him. However, they were determined to get the treasures in the Dragon Emperor's tomb. Could it be that they really had to take the risk of the rebellion of the monster tribe to go to the Dragon Emperor's tomb? The only one that the monster tribe could send was the nine-tailed monster queen. The Red Demon Hound King was not as good as the others. The monster tribe was not like the human tribe. The human tribe had been the overlord of the Heaven Continent for a long time. The human tribe could bully the other tribes, but the other tribes could not bully the human tribe. Those tribes could only be arrogant with their words. However, the monster tribe was surrounded by enemies and had constant internal strife. Now that it was the autumn of change, a monster queen had to take charge of the situation. Although the monster tribe was powerful, the other tribes such as the ghost tribe, the dragon tribe, and the human tribe were not to be trifled with. Once the monster tribe was weak, they would swarm up and devour the monster tribe. This, the nine-tailed monster queen was speechless. What was this? However, I also want the Dragon Emperor's token. Tianyang's words were shocking. Hearing this, the eyes of the nine-tailed monster queen and the other leaders lit up and looked at Tianyang. However, you don't have to give it to me. Just give it to Yuhan. Tianyang smiled. Hearing this, the nine-tailed monster queen and the other leaders were enlightened. They nodded and urged the nine-tailed monster queen with their eyes. At the same time, they looked at Tianyang with pitiful eyes. If it's possible, I can help you get the treasure of the monster tribe. Tianyang smiled. No matter what, the Desolation Monster Tribe had helped Ling Yuhan a lot. Ling Yuhan was able to break through from the 7th Sea of Soul Realm to the 9th Sea of Soul Realm in a year. The nine-tailed monster queen's help would not be lacking. Ling Yuhan was unwilling to see the nine-tailed monster queen, so as her master, Tianyang could only make it up to her. Anyway, although Ling Yuhan was also a member of the nine-tailed fox clan, she was more of Tianyang's disciple. It was a good deal to keep the goodies within the family. Then, Tianyang, I'll tell you about the treasure of the monster tribe, the nine-tailed monster queen said with a serious face. Seeing the nine-tailed monster queen and the other reaching heaven realm experts' expressions, Tianyang's heart skipped a beat, and he became a little more serious. In the Dragon Emperor's tomb, there are all the treasures of the continent of the Dragon Emperor's era. At the same time, there's also the inheritance treasure of the monster tribe. In that era, the Dragon tribe had the Dragon Emperor, but the monster tribe was very weak. Even the inheritance treasure was taken away by the Dragon tribe. Now, the monster tribe has finally risen. We have to find that inheritance treasure, the nine-tailed monster queen said. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression changed slightly. Could it be that you mean the monster ancestor portrait? Yes, it's the monster ancestor portrait. The nine-tailed monster queen nodded hard. There was a distant and admiring light in her eyes. The monster ancestor is the ancestor of the monster tribe. He's also one of the most powerful beings in the history of the monster tribe. Although he was severely injured by the red dragon Wu Zun of the human tribe, he's also the most powerful being of the monster tribe. We can't lose the monster ancestor portrait that he left behind, the nine-tailed monster queen said. Hearing this, all the monsters nodded. The monster ancestor was the ancestor of the monster tribe. As the only ancient portrait that truly recorded the face of the monster ancestor, the monster ancestor portrait was of course very important. Moreover, the monster ancestor portrait also contained a secret skill of the monster tribe. It was a secret skill of the soul that was comparable to the incomplete version of the ancient blood seal and was comparable to the 10,000 swords in origin. I didn't expect that the monster ancestor portrait, which has been lost for countless years, would be in the Dragon Emperor's tomb. Tianyang was shocked. His soul power was now very strong. However, in a real battle, he could only rely on the element of surprise at the beginning. Why was that? Because Tianyang didn't have a suitable secret skill of the soul to use his soul power. Now, the secret skill of the soul contained in the monster ancestor portrait in the Dragon Emperor's tomb just happened to meet Tianyang's needs. The monster ancestor portrait is mine. And just after that day, a piece of news spread from the monster tribe in the wasteland. It shook the entire continent. The monster master position that had been vacant for 10,000 years was reclaimed today. That person was Chapter 786. Tianyang. In just a few years, he had risen from the bitter cold of the northern wilderness region. He had been as dazzling as a comet and as fast as lightning. In a situation that no one had expected, he had reached the top of his peers. And after that, he had even gone to the East Sea Dragon Palace and quelled the Black Dragon Rebellion. He had killed his way to the northern wilderness region and killed the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion clan. In just a few years, especially in the past year, Tianyang's actions had already surpassed the concept of the younger generation. He had reached a level that even the older cultivators could not compare to. Now that the title of Demon Venerable was out, Tianyang's fame naturally reached its peak. In the barren wilderness region. To the barren wilderness region, Demon Venerable was a title that was not inferior to the Demon Emperor. It was even slightly superior. Even if the current nine-tailed Demon Emperor suddenly stepped down from her position and was called Demon Venerable, the other demons would not be convinced. However, the barren wilderness region was unusually quiet when Tianyang took over as a human. It was lively, but almost no one dared to openly oppose him. The support of several large demon clans was naturally one reason. Another reason was that Tianyang was a human, not a demon. No matter how powerful the nine-tailed demon emperor was, she had to consider her status as a demon if she wanted to kill wantonly. Tianyang was powerful, but he was not a demon. Wouldn't he be able to kill whoever he wanted? In addition, the Golden Flame Nine-Headed Lion clan was arrogant and domineering. The barren wilderness region was one of the few regions that did not have much opposition. In the central region, our human prodigy actually went to the demon territory to become a demon venerable? In the center of the central region, in the ancient shrine. This was the mystic realm with the most abundant spirit chi in the Tianshao Great World. It was called the Blessed Land of Immortals. And this was where the ancient shrine, the leader of the martial arts Holy Lands, was located. In the ancient shrine, an elder with unfocused eyes said, "The Sword King, Sword King. Sword King Tianyang, humph, the ancient god temple didn't participate in the martial arts meeting. If we did, the title of #1 prodigy of the human race would never belong to this guy," the elder said proudly. Hearing this, the messenger nodded with a proud look on his face. The ancient shrine was the #1 holy land of martial arts. There were countless elites in the sect, and if the top 10 geniuses were to go out, they could easily beat Hualing Ri, Long Taiji, Tan Yu, and the others. Since this person dared to kill Kuaoyang, a disciple of the ancient god temple, he should be prepared to be hunted down by the ancient god temple. Pass down my order. From now on, anyone from the ancient god shrine who meets the Tianyang must hunt them down with all their might. If you succeed in killing him, you can obtain any medicinal pill that I personally refined," the old man ordered. Hearing this, the messenger's face immediately turned red. His breathing quickened as he raised his head in disbelief. The old man in front of him was the only 6th-grade alchemist in the world today. He could be said to be the strongest alchemist in the Tianshao Great World. Any one of his pills? It was enough to drive anyone crazy. Yes, third elder. After the messenger left, Yi Zichen left. The third elder of the ancient god temple had a vicious look in his eyes. He took out the golden token in his hand and felt the dragon clan's aura on it. Empyrean Palace. Silence. Strangely silent. The Empyrean Palace master stood high above. Below him were countless elders, the saintess of the Empyrean Palace, Tang Fengling. Someone holding the message from the ancient god temple was about to speak, but was stopped by the Empyrean Palace master. Tianyang is neither an enemy nor a friend. It's best not to provoke them. Empyrean Palace is not the ancient god temple's dog. Scarlet Flame Sect. From today on, Tianyang is the enemy of the Scarlet Flame Sect. Western Region Buddhist Sect. Good. Good. I knew that Tianyang would be a great enemy of the Western Region Buddhist sect sooner or later. They dared to kill our Arhat, Tan Yu, and Akalanatha. Our Buddha and Tianyang will not rest until one of us is dead. Tianyang dares to provoke the ancient god temple. They don't know what's good for them. Pass down the order. Western Region Buddhist sect disciples who encounter Tianyang and report it will receive 100 spiritual origin pills after verification. Those who are seriously injured will be allowed to enter the small Thunder Temple and choose any scripture. Those who kill Tianyang will be allowed to enter the small Thunder Temple. Voices came from the depths of the Western Region Buddhist sect. Hearing this, the entire Western Region Buddhist sect was in an uproar. At this moment, there was only one word in the Western Region Buddhist sect: kill. Sun Moon Sect. Demon Venerable? He really knows how to play. Tianyang really knows how to play. Jun Aoyang, who had been promoted to deputy suzerain and was only a dozen years away from the position of suzerain, praised. Jun Tianyi, who was beside him, shook his head and sighed. It's not that easy to be a demon venerable. This news came from the mouth of the Scarlet Demon Dog Emperor. To become a demon venerable, one must at least have the strength of the reaching heaven realm, and not just an ordinary LV1 reaching heaven realm. This friend of yours is really scary. Jun Tianyi sighed. In the past, Tianyang had relied on his help to break through to the reaching heaven realm to save his life as a small cultivator. Now, just his name alone was enough to shake the central region. This speed of growth was too fast. Reaching heaven realm, Jun Aoyang's hand froze, and the book fell to the ground without him noticing. Stars Swordplay Sect. Arrogant. Tianyang is definitely arrogant. Zhou Tong looked at the letter in his hand and laughed loudly. Demon Venerable. No one has been a demon venerable for 10,000 years. In the end, this guy became one the moment he went to the Desolation Demon region. Instead of being the Sword King of the human race, he ran to the Desolation Demon region to become some demon venerable. This guy is really arrogant. Zhou Tong couldn't stop laughing, causing Sun Xing and the others below to be puzzled. What are you doing? Haven't you seen a spiritual king expert laugh? Why aren't you coming? My junior brother has become a demon venerable. As his senior brother, how can I not prepare a congratulatory gift? Zhou Tong shouted. Hearing this, everyone seemed to wake up from a dream. They found someone to prepare a gift and sent it to the distant Desolation Demon region. In fact, the forces that were shaken by Tianyang were far more than these. Demon Venerable Tianyang. These 4 words were enough to make the entire heaven continent tremble. What made countless experts sigh was that, unknowingly, the former genius had become a true giant. And those who ran on the same track as him in the past had been left behind by an entire great world. At this moment, the main character of the incident was the newly appointed Demon Venerable. Instead, he looked at Ling Yuhan in front of him with a pained expression. It's a good thing to fuse your cultivation technique with your physique, but you have to know your limits. Ice Emperor Heavenly Sword Technique, not 9 Nether Heavenly Sword Technique. Look at what you've changed. I originally helped you change some parts, but you changed it yourself. It won't be back to normal for a week. What a headache. Tianyang clutched his head and said with a headache. In front of him, Ling Yuhan chuckled, sat down cross-legged, and began to cultivate. All right. Seeing this, Tianyang also rubbed his temples with a headache. Chapter 787. 1 month later. Nine-Tailed Saint Mountain. Tianyang and Lingyuan stood on top of Nine-Tailed Saint Mountain, holding golden tokens in their hands. They smiled at Nine-Tailed Monster Emperor. "Don't worry, I'll get the demonic ancestral portrait." Beside him, Lingyuan, who had already advanced to the 9th level of Sea of Soul Realm, also nodded. Hearing that, Nine-Tailed Monster Emperor smiled. "I'm not worried about your strength. However, other than humans and demons, there are countless other races in Dragon Emperor's tomb. For example, Ghost Race and Stone Race are extremely powerful races. They have many experts. We can't let our guard down," Nine-Tailed Monster Emperor said solemnly. The opening of Dragon Emperor's tomb this time was very important. Since the rise of Demon Race, there wasn't a day that they didn't want to get the demonic ancestral portrait back. Unfortunately, Dragon Emperor's tomb was too big and only opened once every 100 years. In the previous few times, Demon Race couldn't even touch the demonic ancestral portrait. If Tianyang failed now, he would have to wait for another 100 years. Who knew what would happen 100 years later? "I know." Tianyang nodded. He put away the Dragon Emperor token and the vague map of Dragon Emperor's tomb that Nine-Tailed Monster Emperor gave him, then turned around. Stepping on the air, he burst out with extreme speed and disappeared in the sky. Lingyuan, who was beside him, also disappeared. Watching the two disappear, Nine-Tailed Monster Emperor turned around and walked back to Nine-Tailed Saint Mountain. "Demonic ancestral portrait, I must get it. In the vast East Ocean. Above Dragon Emperor City. What's going on? Why are there so many experts passing by our Dragon Emperor City today? Is that the third elder of Ancient God Palace? And the first elder of Ninth Heaven Palace, Scarlet Flame Sex Scarlet Flame Supremacy is here too. That bald old man emitting boundless golden light, could he be the Western region's Buddhist sex Bone Buddha?" Countless experts were shocked, looking at the peerless experts flying in the sky one after another. They might not see any of these experts in their lifetime, but in this 1 month, they saw dozens of them. Human Clan, Ghost Clan, and Stone Clan. The Spirit Race and various other races, both strong and weak, had all sent their own heaven-reaching realm warriors. They didn't see a single Spirit Sea realm cultivator. However, the Demon Clan is also a large clan. Why haven't I seen anyone come yet? From the desolate beast domain to the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace, the Dragon Emperor City is the only way. Some people were suspicious. A while ago, the demon race was in the limelight. As a super race that was second only to the human race, every move of the demon race was monitored. But now, almost all the experts of the demon race had appeared. But there was still no news from the demon race. Could it be that the demons aren't coming? Impossible. The way I see it, the Monster Clan is just a bit late. As a Monster Emperor, the Nine-Tailed Monster Emperor can't possibly go there. Only the Red Demon Dog Emperor can be sent. The Crimson Demon Dog Emperor is not weak, but speed is not his strong suit. The demon race is not strong enough either. They don't have powerful magical treasures that can be used as transportation. That's why it was too late. Someone calmly analyzed. Hearing this, everyone nodded and sighed. Although the demon race is strong, they are still weak compared to the human race. Why is there Sea of Spirit Realm aura? Someone said. At this moment, two figures suddenly appeared in the sky above the Dragon Emperor City. All the experts of the Sea of Spirit Realm and above in the Dragon Emperor City cast their eyes on the two people. Two people? Why is there one who is only at the 9th level of Sea of Spirit Realm? With such strength, it would be difficult for them to protect themselves in the Dragon Emperor's tomb. Which race is this? They are not even willing to send a heaven-reaching realm? Wait, that young man seems to be Demon Venerable Tianyang? Someone's pupils shrank and his voice trembled as he said in shock. Hearing this, other people's faces also changed slightly as they looked at the young man standing in the sky. It's really Tianyang. Tianyang actually came? I see. The demon race elected him as the demon venerable to deal with the Dragon Emperor's tomb. All the major forces of the human race are dissatisfied with Tianyang. The demon race has played their cards well. You don't want the human race's geniuses? Then the demon race will take them. However, Tianyang is still as unfathomable as before. No matter what realm you are in, it's impossible to see Tianyang's current cultivation. When Tianyang was recognized, almost the entire Dragon Emperor city was in an uproar. If people were to evaluate who was the most powerful person in the younger generation recently, 80% of the people would not put Tianyang in their choice. After all, Tianyang was already in existence that could compete with the elders of the major forces. To say that he was from the younger generation was simply an insult to him. Is that the senior sister that Master mentioned? She is indeed outstanding. Meanwhile, in a certain house in the Dragon Emperor city, Jiang Shuer looked at the two people in the sky who looked like an immortal couple and muttered to herself. Jiang Han, who was next to her, also showed a trace of admiration. However, I have the icy sky's spiritual body. I won't admit defeat so easily. Jiang Shuer suddenly clenched her fist. She did not care about Tianyang in the sky and directly walked into the cultivation room, operating the icy true spirit art with all her might. Waves of powerful icy aura were suddenly released from within. If Tianyang saw the current Jiang Shuer, he would probably be shocked. At this moment, Jiang Shuer had already reached the peak of the first sea of Soul Realm. This rocket-like speed was enough to make the entire continent tremble. After all, Jiang Shuer was only 17 years old. I haven't been here for a year, but the Dragon Emperor city hasn't changed at all. Tianyang glanced at the bustling city below and said with a smile. Ling Yuhan, who was next to him, also looked over curiously. Tianyang looked at Jiang Shuer, who had resolutely stepped into the cultivation room. He turned his head and smiled. He did not explain. Instead, he performed the Void Step secret technique and walked toward the East Sea Dragon Palace. For those with lower cultivation, the Dragon Emperor city was the only way to enter the East Sea Dragon Palace. They might not even be able to enter. But for the strong, boom, a huge wave formed on the surface of the East Sea. Then, it immediately turned into a terrifying tsunami. A ghost-like figure let out a shrill and strange laugh before disappearing into the sea. On the other side, open, a man with bluish-gray skin, who looked as hard as a rock, shouted in a low voice. The sea in front of him was immediately divided into two sides. In the middle of the two seas, a flight of stairs was formed. The man's expression did not change. He stepped on the desert-like flight of stairs and walked down. On the other side, flames and blade lights were shining. On the other side, Ascension Realm aura was released. The 8 immortals crossed the sea, each showing their magical powers. A bunch of idiots. At this moment, a low murmur was heard. Tianyang raised his eyebrows and looked over. He saw a Taoist wearing a tattered Taoist robe and a similarly tattered hat, holding the Dragon Emperor token. He stepped into the water. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared. Chapter 788. The Dragon Emperor token can be used like this? Tianyang was surprised to see the Taoist priest disappear in an instant. Those experts had used all kinds of methods to enter the East Sea Dragon Palace. They were just short of using their trump cards. However, this Taoist priest disappeared after entering the sea with the Dragon Emperor token? If that's the case, those guys who work so hard to the point of dying are really idiots, Tianyang suddenly chuckled. With a golden flash, the Dragon Emperor token appeared in his hand. Just as Tianyang was about to test the actions of the tattered Taoist priest, he suddenly felt a shadow looming over him. The corners of Tianyang's mouth curled into a faint smile as he turned his head to look at that person. A disdainful sneer came from behind. Since when is the Dragon Emperor badge given to a kid who hasn't even grown his hair yet? Hearing this, Tianyang's expression did not change, but Ling Yuhan frowned and looked at the person. A tall, bare-chested man was staring at the Dragon Emperor token in Tianyang's hand with a ferocious expression. The greed in his eyes was not concealed at all. I don't know if the people of the Dragon Palace are idiots or if the people of your force are idiots. They actually gave the Dragon Emperor token to you. However, it doesn't matter who is the idiot. This Dragon Emperor token is mine. The man burst into laughter. The scar on his face glowed red. The next moment, his palm struck out like a thunderbolt. Boom! Lightning arcs suddenly appeared around them, locking Tianyang and Ling Yuhan inside. Upper-class Earth-class martial technique, Thundercloud Hand. The man roared. The greed in his eyes was extremely bright as he grabbed the Dragon Emperor token. The East Sea Dragon Palace only cared about the Dragon Emperor token. They never cared who was holding it. He had been stuck at LV1 of the Heavenly Completion Realm for many years. If he did not make a breakthrough soon, he would soon turn into dust with the lifespan of a LV1 Heavenly Completion Realm cultivator. How could he, the former pirate king of the East Sea, be limited by lifespan? The Dragon Emperor token was his only hope. Tisk! At this moment a sneer came from Tianyang's mouth. Tianyang's expression did not change as he used the myriad movement technique and brought Ling Yuhan away from the lightning arc. The man's thundercloud hand naturally missed as well. He actually dodged it? The man's face suddenly darkened. He looked at Tianyang, who had a faint smile on his face, and a trace of anger suddenly rose in his heart. This immature brat actually dared to look down on him. Don't think that you can be arrogant in front of me just because you dodged my thundercloud palm. Hand over the Dragon Emperor token now, and I can spare your lives. Otherwise, just wait for your deaths. The man grinned hideously. At the same time, he strode towards Tianyang. Waves of greedy killing intent were released from his body. The commotion at Tianyang's side naturally attracted the attention of many people, but no one came to help. Isn't that the former pirate king of the East Sea? How dare they attack two juniors? TSK, this pirate king is really getting worse and worse. Those two juniors actually have the Dragon Emperor token. Since the pirate king doesn't have it, he will naturally attack them. A man's wealth is his own ruin. These two juniors actually dared to take it out. It's not surprising that they will be killed. A fight between ants. Some people who noticed this were dismissive. They did not take the three of them seriously at all and flew straight to the East Sea Dragon Palace. Some of the weaker ones who had obtained a Dragon Emperor token with great difficulty were afraid that the Pirate King, whose combat strength did not match their cultivation, would also target them. They hurriedly used their means to dive into the sea. Those who had the ability to attack just took a few glances and said something casually before ignoring them. Seeing this, the Pirate King's face became even more smug. Ah, did you see that? This is the prestige of the Pirate King. Even without the ship, I can still intimidate the rascals. You are the Pirate King of the East Sea, Rogers? Tianyang raised his eyebrows and said. Hearing this, the Pirate King's face darkened. He then sneered, "That's right, it's me. How about it? Are you going to beg for mercy? That won't do. Ever since I stepped on the ship, I have never accepted any begging for mercy. Now, hand over the Dragon Emperor token." Rogers laughed arrogantly. He released his cultivation of Heaven Ascension Stage LV1 and the might of the former Overlord of the Sea. The sand and stones under his feet instantly shattered. Ripples suddenly appeared in the void, and the space surged. The surface of the sea was constantly fluctuating, as if it was being suppressed by this huge might. Pirate King Rogers, is it? TSK, I have to say that you are very bold. Tianyang nodded. With a flip of his wrist, he put away the Dragon Emperor token. Seeing this, Rogers' expression changed drastically. His anger rose, and he charged toward Tianyang. Brat, you are courting death. Half a step to heaven tier martial technique, see nether quake. Rogers roared. His heaven ascension stage LV1 vital essence circulated in his hand. A powerful and terrifying vibration force condensed in his hand. Following that, Rogers punched out. It was as if the entire East Sea was trembling. A deep black beam of light flew out from Rogers' hand. In an instant, it swallowed Tianyang and his companion. Ah! Even the first elder of the East Sea Dragon Palace might not be able to withstand my sea netherquake. How dare you look down on me? You are courting death. Seeing Tianyang's figure being swallowed in an instant, Rogers laughed loudly and strode toward where Tianyang had been. Now, this Dragon Emperor token is mine. Rogers laughed loudly. At this moment, a cold aura suddenly appeared in front of his neck. Rogers had goosebumps all over his body. His pupils instantly contracted to the extreme. At this moment, a calm and indifferent voice sounded. See nether quake? It seems that martial techniques that use the power of the sea are different from martial techniques that use the power of heaven and earth. This martial technique is comparable to an ordinary heaven-tier martial technique at sea. However, on land it will be greatly reduced. Tianyang's indifferent voice sounded behind Rogers. At this moment, Rogers finally saw what it was that gave him the killing intent. It was a thread that emitted a bone-piercing chill. Damn it! How dare you fool me, Rogers? Seeing this, Rogers suddenly flew into a rage. He turned around and charged toward Tianyang. His huge body seemed to have turned into a huge cannonball, charging toward Tianyang. Earth-tier upper martial technique, roar of the sea and sky. Rogers roared. His thick right fist struck out toward Tianyang. Seeing this, Tianyang just said indifferently, "Seeing that you have shown me the difference between the sea martial technique and the continent martial technique, I will give you a quick death," Tianyang said indifferently. Then, he stretched out his fist. "You are about to die and you still dare to be arrogant." Seeing this, Rogers smiled ferociously. He completely ignored the outstretched fist and rushed forward. However, that fist. Chapter 789. What? Rogers' expression froze as he looked at the fist that had pierced through his chest. How was this possible? He was a LV1 Heavenly Ascension Realm expert and the former pirate king of the East Sea. Who knew how many treasures he had collected? Although he was not wearing anything on his upper body, he had a colorless armor that was comparable to an upper-grade bejeweled weapon in defense. This armor had saved his life countless times, and it was almost indestructible. In addition, Rogers had cultivated a powerful defensive martial skill that he had plundered from other cultivators. Even a LV2 Heavenly Ascension Realm expert would not be able to break his defense. In the end, Tianyang did not even make a move. He merely stretched out his fist, and all of Rogers' defenses were shattered just like that. Moreover, he had crashed into it head-on. Rogers wanted to open his mouth even more. Blood spurted out of his mouth like a waterfall and landed on the ground. However, when it landed on Tianyang's arm, it seemed to be blocked by something and bounced off, landing on the ground. At this moment, Tianyang withdrew his fist. Rogers' pupils shrank when he saw the fist, and his face was filled with disbelief. The fist had been pulled out of his chest. However, it was still spotless, as if it had been cleansed by the purest holy water. Rogers opened his mouth. However, he had just spat out 3 words when the waterfall-like blood filled his mouth, and he forcefully swallowed the rest of his words. At this moment, Rogers' gaze was also gradually unfocused. Even a LV1 Heavenly Ascension Realm expert would not be able to survive such a huge blow to a vital part like the heart. If one had a strong soul power and a powerful life-saving treasure, there would still be a chance of survival. It was a pity that Rogers did not possess either of these. A few decades ago, He was indeed a pirate king who could stir up trouble in the East Sea with a flip of his hand. However, after the current Dragon King came to power, he was severely injured by the East Sea Dragon Palace's sea calming plan. Not only was his cultivation almost destroyed, but it was also difficult for him to improve in his lifetime. Along with the various treasures that had been plundered for hundreds of years, they were seized by the East Sea Dragon Palace, including Roger's life-saving treasure. Sword Emperor Tianyang. Tianyang was too lazy to lie to a person who was about to die. Hearing this, Roger's pupils suddenly shrank as if he had thought of something. However, in the next moment, he revealed a look of relief. It was laughable that he had tried to snatch Tianyang's Dragon Emperor token, but he had never thought that Tianyang would be able to do so. The giant dragon had never provoked an ant, but the ant was trying to pull out a tooth from the giant dragon's mouth. Bang! Roger's body hit the ground hard, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The pirate king of his generation, Rogers, had fallen. Seeing this, Tianyang's expression did not change. He did not have the slightest bit of pity. Who knew how many things this Rogers had done that had caused the wrath of the heavens and the resentment of the people? Even if he were to be cut into pieces, it would not be an exaggeration. Even when they were surrounded by the East Sea Dragon Palace, they managed to escape. Even now they were still committing such acts of burning, killing, and looting. Before trying to snatch Tianyang's Dragon Emperor token, Rogers had robbed countless people of their treasures. This kind of person deserved to die. Well, now, we can enter the East Sea Dragon Palace, Tianyang said indifferently. Then, holding the Dragon Emperor token in his hand, he stepped into the sea. The sea automatically split open, revealing the passage that Tianyang and Long Tianyang had entered. Then, the sea closed. Waves of seawater pushed Tianyang and Long Tianyang, and they quickly disappeared into the water, heading towards the East Sea Dragon Palace. Humph, is the Dragon King looking down on us? How could he let a young lord, who is still wet behind the ears, receive us? Even if the Dragon King is very busy, he should be able to spare some time. It's already too much to let a kid like you come. In the end, you still want us to wait for the Demon Clan, who we don't know if they will come or not, and who we don't know if they are still alive. A man covered in a purple robe, with only a strange flame-like light under his mask, said coldly. He looked at Long Taiji in front of him with contempt. Hearing this, the people around felt that since the Dragon King's mausoleum had not been opened yet, there was no difference between them and the others. However, they did not dare to speak out against this person. Because this person was the strongest among the top 5 clans in the world, the Ghost Clan, and he was at the ancestor level. Ghostly. Ghostly's name had been known throughout the Heaven continent as early as 5,000 years ago. At that time, everyone in the world knew the name of Ghostly from the Ghost Clan. Even in the faraway waste domain, he could use it to stop children from crying at night. Massacring a city and destroying a town was just a small matter. It was also easy to burn down a sect and kill a king. Ghostly's most terrifying battle record was that he used the Ghost Clan's supernatural power and spent 30 years to plant a soul seed in all the people of a first-class force that was infinitely close to the holy land of martial arts. After another 100 years, the soul seed exploded. That entire sect had been reduced to Ghostly's slaves. Facing such a ruthless person, how could these people dare to speak up for Long Taiji? Senior from the Ghost Clan, there is still some time before the Dragon King's mausoleum opens. Saying that you are waiting for someone or waiting for the Dragon King's mausoleum to open is the same. Long Taiji's face was ugly. He gritted his teeth and said to Ghostly in front of him in a low voice. The elite from the Ghost Clan in front of him was too terrifying. Even the current East Sea Dragon Palace was not willing to provoke this person. After all, souls were formless and illusory. It was difficult to check normally. If one was planted with a soul seed, one would not know that there was a soul seed in one's soul until the second before the soul seed exploded. Although the East Sea Dragon Palace was far more powerful than the sect that was enslaved, their ability to resist soul seeds might not be much stronger than that sect. Do I, Ghostly, need a little kid to teach me how to do things? Hearing this, the purple-robed Ghostly laughed strangely and said, Originally, I only wanted one of your dragon tendons, but now, you will be enslaved by me. Ghostly laughed shrilly. In the next moment, a cold wind blew around Ghostly. Seeing this, countless elites around, including those from the Nine Heaven Palace, Scarlet Flame Sect, and even those from the Ancient Shrine, were shocked and took a few steps back. As an elite from the Ghost Clan, Ghostly was best at soul attacks. Ghostly's cultivation was not strong. He was only at Heaven Ascension stage LV4. However, Ghostly's soul attack was something that even an elite at the peak of Heaven Ascension stage LV6 would have to take seriously. Now, Ghostly actually attacked Long Taiji. This Dragon Clan's young lord was most likely doomed. Long Taiji's expression changed greatly. It was as if his soul had been bound by some terrifying soul attack. Long Taiji's face also paled by countless times. At this moment, who dares to touch Long Taiji? His voice was like thunder, it dispersed the cold wind for thousands of miles. Then, Chapter 790. 10 minutes ago, the East Sea Dragon Palace was filled with experts. Qi Yen Supreme of the Human Clan, the Third Elder of the Ancient Shrine, the Great Elder of the Ninth Heaven Palace, and a series of other experts. Gui Li of the Ghost Clan, Shi Kaitian of the Stone Clan, Ying Ling of the Spirit Clan, and others were all mighty figures above LV3 of the Reaching Heaven realm. Countless experts gathered. Even though it was the East Sea Dragon Palace, the dragons of the East Sea Dragon Palace were still trembling. When had they ever seen so many Reaching Heaven realm experts? Even the Dragon King of the East Sea Dragon Palace was not someone they could meet casually. Not to mention, among these experts, there were even existences stronger than the Dragon King. So many experts. A sharp and strange laughter came from Gui Li's mouth. His purple robe fluttered even though there was no wind, and a strange aura that made people feel uncomfortable was released. Just sensing this aura was enough to make people feel extremely uncomfortable, even if the people here were all Reaching Heaven realm experts. They couldn't help but frown. The Ghost Clan was not a normal clan. They were formed by countless corpses of clans that had preserved their intelligence after death. The Ghost Clan was called a clan. In fact, as long as they met the three characteristics of death, corpse, and intelligence, they could be called a Ghost Clan. Of course, although Sanguinati's body had died, his soul had never dissipated. Unlike the Ghost Clan who had died once and whose soul had dissipated, they couldn't be called a Ghost Clan. But the Ghost Clan's biggest characteristic was, their methods were strange, vicious, and insidious. The Ghost Clan was usually very good at soul power. Soul power was illusory and unpredictable, and soul attacks were the most feared. Therefore, even experts like Qi Yen Supreme didn't want to stay around the Ghost Clan for too long. I'm sorry, everyone. There's still some time before the Dragon King's mausoleum opens, and the Demon Clan hasn't arrived yet. So, I can only ask you to wait for a while. Long Taiji's voice came. Gui Li raised his head and looked over. Suddenly, his eyes seemed to be fixed on Long Taiji. Bloodline. What a powerful bloodline. Even stronger than the Dragon King. The East Sea Dragon Palace has produced such a powerful bloodline this time. It seems that there will be another powerful new member among my soul slaves. If I can devour this guy's dragon soul, I might be able to break through the shackles that have trapped me for 300 years. Ghostly snickered in his heart and stepped forward. This led to the scene that Tianyang saw earlier. So you're from the Ghost Clan? Tianyang shattered Ghost Li's soul attack with a single blow. His face darkened as he quickly landed on the ground and looked at Ghost Li, who was covered in a purple robe. You brat, how dare you ruin my plans? Ghost Li's face immediately turned gloomy. Previously, he had finally found an excuse to attack Long Taiji. In the end, just as he was about to succeed, this guy actually appeared. Now that Long Taiji was on guard, it was naturally impossible for him to approach him again. If he wanted to devour Long Taiji's dragon soul, the difficulty would greatly increase. Thinking of this, Ghost Li's soul fire suddenly burned with a raging flame. How dare you attack the young lord of the Dragon Clan in the East Sea Dragon Palace? Tianyang smiled coldly as he stomped on the ground. A terrifying aura suddenly erupted from his body. The air billowed and engulfed the entire East Sea Dragon Palace. Everyone felt the aura. Long Taiji, who had finally regained his composure, immediately turned his head and his eyes lit up. Tianyang! Tianyang! Hearing this, Ghostly was slightly stunned. This name seemed a little familiar. Then, Ghostly recalled and his face gradually turned ferocious. Tianyang? Demon Master Tianyang! Not only did you dare to ruin my plans, but you also dared to make so many people here wait for you for so long. How should I punish you? Ghostly laughed ferociously. Hearing this, although most of the people were indifferent and just sat on the mountain to watch the tigers fight. However, there was also a portion of the young and impetuous people who showed a trace of dissatisfaction on their faces. Moreover, this dissatisfaction seemed to be pouring out on Tianyang at any time. A simple sentence was enough to turn some people from neutral to hostile. As expected of the cunning and insidious people of the Ghost Clan. Hearing this, Long Taiji's face suddenly darkened and revealed a worried expression. Although Tianyang was powerful, in Long Taiji's opinion, at most, he was around LV2 of the Reaching Heaven realm. Putting aside whether or not they could deal with Ghostly, any random powerhouse here would be able to defeat Tianyang. If he really let Ghostly have his way, Tianyang would have a hard time. TSK, with just a sentence, you want to fool a group of Reaching Heaven realm experts? Tianyang was not a pure and kind person. Naturally, he saw through Ghost Li's little trick. The Dragon Emperor's mausoleum is not open yet. There is no problem for me to come at any time. But you, Tianyang's eyes narrowed slightly and revealed a trace of a smile. The next moment, the vital energy in his hand burst out, pretending to be mysterious and not even willing to reveal your true face. I'd like to see how you look like. Boom. Even Ghostly himself did not expect that Tianyang would attack first before he even made a move. Caught off guard, he only cared about defending his body. As for the wide purple robe, naturally, it turned into ashes in an instant. Ghost Li's body, which was left with only bones but still carried a strange spell, seemed to have a few ribs removed and was exposed. This is Ghostly? Legend has it that Ghostly was not happy when he was alive. In the end, he was tortured to death. Although he has extracted the souls of his enemies and refined them, it is difficult to change his appearance when he was alive. Therefore, Ghostly has always regarded his dead body as a disgrace and hid it very deeply. I did not expect that today, someone would be so daring as to directly blow up his robe. Someone exclaimed. Ghostly had always been headstrong and self-opinionated. He could defy others but not him. Coupled with his strong strength, almost no one knew what was hidden under the wide robe. Everyone knew that this was Ghostly's scar. As a result, in front of more than 70% of the Reaching Heaven realm experts on the continent, Ghost Li's scar was torn open by Tianyang in such a violent and bloody way. Boy, I want you to die. Ghost Li instantly went berserk. His soul flame turned blood red in an instant. Wisps of ghost energy burst out from his body. In an instant, the surroundings seemed to be shrouded by ghosts. The dark purple color covered the entire East Sea Dragon Palace. Countless mournful screams of ghosts also sounded at this moment. This is Ghost Li's strongest technique, myriad ghosts to the grave. This is a technique of the realm. Chapter 791. 10,000 ghosts return to burial region. The strongest member of the Ghost Clan, Gui Li's strongest technique. Territory was a special technique. If one had a territory, no matter what the situation, it would be able to turn harm into benefit. Some territories were even stronger. Other than allowing the user to have the home ground advantage, there were also all kinds of special abilities. Tianyang's Massacre Territory was one of them. The Massacre Territory could not only increase Tianyang's murderous aura, it could also cause the opponent to be surrounded by murderous aura, causing their mind to tremble. However, as Tianyang's cultivation improved and his sword techniques changed, he did not use the Massacre Territory often. Gui Li's 10,000 Ghosts Returned to Burial Region was also one of them. It was even stronger than Tianyang's Massacre Territory. Gui Li's 10,000 Ghosts Returned to Burial Region, just by activating it, it can cause the surrounding to be surrounded by ghostly aura. It's like the Ghost Clan's Holy Land, the Netherworld Wasteland. Also, 10,000 Ghosts Returned to Burial Region has 3 killing moves. The ghostly aura around became thicker and thicker, and the voices Tianyang heard became fainter and fainter. However, once Tianyang used his soul strength, the 10,000 Ghosts Returned to Burial Region's bewitching effect would be dispelled instantly. The discussions of the others also fell into his ears again. The third killing move is called 10,000 Ghosts Roar. Although it's a territory ability, it's not any weaker than a heaven-rank martial technique. 10,000 Ghosts Returned to Burial Region is a soul territory. If one's soul strength is not strong enough and is enveloped by the 10,000 Ghosts Returned to Burial Region, there's an 80 to 90% chance that one will become Gui Li's soul slave. That young man doesn't look very old. His soul strength must be weak. Doesn't that mean that young man is dead for sure? As a member of the Ghost Clan, Gui Li has no family, no friends, no companions, and no grudges. He has nothing to worry about in this world. Hence, Gui Li's true body is his reverse scale. No matter if that demon Venerable Tianyang can withstand the 10,000 Ghosts Returned to Burial Region or not, he will die. That person vowed solemnly. At this moment, Gui Li's maniacal laughter sounded from all directions in the 10,000 Ghosts Returned to Burial Region. This is my myriad ghosts returned to burial region. Originally, I didn't need to use the myriad ghosts returned to burial to deal with a weakling like you. But you actually dared to destroy my robes. Ghostly laughed strangely. Not knowing why, his tone always had a kind of meaning that made people go crazy. Tianyang's face turned slightly cold. This ghostly could actually use the power of bewitchment on the soul? This could be considered a method. But to be able to do this, there were very few. Even in Tianyang's previous life, he might not be able to do it. Gui Li, as the strongest of the Ghost Clan, indeed had his merits. Now, I've made up my mind. I will imprison you in the myriad ghosts returned to the graveyard, and let you suffer the torture of 10,000 ghosts for eternity. 10,000 Ghosts Roar. Ghostly laughed strangely. In the next moment, Ghost Chi flew out from the surrounding ghost fog. At the same time, Tianyang also felt that under his feet, there were also waves of tyrannical aura. In a short while, countless ghosts flew out from the ghost fog. Each of them had a strange stiff smile on their faces and flew towards Tianyang. Ah ah ah! Screams that sounded like they came from the soul resounded throughout the entire myriad ghosts returned to burial region. Suddenly, the entire East Sea Dragon Palace was in an uproar. What is this sound? It's obviously just the aftermath. Why do I still feel so painful? Ah ah ah! Some people were strangling their own necks and howling in pain. Their brains were trembling. Some people directly knelt on the ground. They could not stand up again. Their souls were attacked by the aftermath, and they were unable to resist at all. What was worse was that the ghost chi and the surrounding ghost fog took advantage of the situation to invade their bodies. Even if they were lucky enough to not die, it would be difficult for them to enter the Dragon Emperor's tomb. This ghost qi was comparable to the world's most poisonous poison. Even the ancient shrine's third elder and Qi Yen Supreme had an ugly look on their faces. This myriad ghosts returned to burial would inevitably hurt them. Damn it! This ghostly is really crazy. There are so many experts here and he actually attacked them indiscriminately. The ancient shrine's third elder roared angrily. Among the people present, only the man who had been sitting cross-legged in the corner with greenish-gray skin and looked like a rock did not speak. The Stone Clan was a special clan in the Sky Continent. The members of the Stone Clan were all made of rock. Everything had a spirit, but not everything could be enlightened. Among all things, humans were the spirit of heaven and earth. They were born to be the leader of all things. Even the Monster Clan and the Dragon Clan enlightened later than the Human Clan. As for rocks, it was even harder for them to gain sentience than ascending to the heavens. Therefore, there were very few people in the Stone Clan. Because it was as difficult as ascending to heaven, once enlightened, their strength was extremely terrifying. They were immune to soul attacks. This person was a member of the Stone Clan. He was the man that Tianyang and Ling Yuhan had seen with one punch. Shi Kaitian. Was Ghostly really crazy to the extent that he even attacked outsiders indiscriminately? In fact, that was not the case. However, even if Ghostly strengthened his roar of 1,000 ghosts to the most terrifying level, he still could not do anything to Tianyang. Ghostly's soul power was far stronger than ordinary people could imagine. Therefore, the aftermath of the attack was similar to what ordinary people could imagine. However, it still could not do anything to Tianyang. Damn it, since the roar of 1,000 ghosts can't do anything to you, then let's use the second killing move. Ghostly's expression was extremely ugly. He looked at Tianyang, who was attacking the key point but did not show any reaction. Even his breathing and heartbeat were so stable. He was extremely furious. Go to hell. Netherworld purgatory. Ghostly roared. In the next moment, thousands of ghostly auras gathered and condensed into a huge prison. Boom. The prison fell down and confined Tianyang to this place. At the same time, countless powerful attacks were condensed. Ghostly actually used Netherworld purgatory? What's going on? Ghostly's roar of 1,000 ghosts can't kill Tianyang? The ancient shrine's third elder felt the fluctuation and was shocked. Just when Ghostly was about to attack, a dragon's roar suddenly sounded. An extremely powerful Great Emperor's aura burst out and instantly forced Ghostly's roar of 1,000 ghosts back into his body. His soul flame was flickering and he was shocked. At this moment, Shi Kaitian's eyes lit up. Everyone reacted. At this moment, the Dragon King of the East Sea Dragon Palace finally appeared. A golden light appeared behind him and lit up the entire East Sea. Kid, you're lucky this time. After entering the Dragon Emperor's tomb, you'll die. Ghostly roared in a low voice but still put on his robe and descended. Compared to Tianyang, the Dragon Emperor's tomb was obviously more important. At this moment, the Dragon King of the East Sea spoke. Now, the true martial Dragon Emperor's aura has appeared.